This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of What If Kid Naruto Awaken, Forgotten Power of Darkness. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
October 10th. One of the darkest days in Konohagakure no Sato's history. The day the people lost Minato Namikaze, their beloved Hokage, and the day Kyuubi no Yuko, the nine-tailed fox, attacked the village. The recently reinstated Sandaime Hokage sat at his desk in the Hokage's tower office, his creased hands clasped in front of his face. He cast a sidelong glance at a cot that one of his Anbu had brought in. The elderly Hokage rose from his seat and approached the cot, gazing down at the laughing blonde infant inside. When he brought his hand close, the boy took it, and he grinned. His smile vanished when he looked down at the baby's stomach and saw the seal there. To say that the people of Konoha were horrified by his disclosure of the boy and his tenant would be an understatement. To prevent the crowd from immediately killing the boy, multiple Anbu squads and some of the more sympathetic Junin were required. Sarutobi frowned as he remembered that the council had called the boy a demon and refused to defend or assist him, with many calling for his execution. With the exception of Danzo and Minato's friends, who demanded that he be turned into a weapon and adopted into a clan, respectively. This shit is too old for me. Even though I know Minato wouldn't have permitted it, I should have been the one to use the Shikifujin. An Anbu in a dog mask materialized and bowed. Hokage. Sama, what are you going to do with him? The council won't allow him to be taken into your clan. I will do what I can for him, Kakashi. The most the council will allow is an apartment and monthly allowance. But Hokage. Sama, surely it would be better if I were to take him in. I mean, his father was my sensei after all, grumbled Kakashi, looking out for his sensei's son. At this, Sarutobi's scowl grew deeper before he continued. No, Kakashi. You and I both know that this will only make him stronger, and hopefully he will awaken his ancestors' power. At this, Kakashi went pale. Hokage. Sama. Most of the people who have wielded that power have gone insane. The very few that haven't have become isolated and cold, hating the rest of humanity. The Hokage concluded, that is enough, Kakashi. I will not speak anymore on this matter, and Kakashi vanished in a whirl of leaves. This is totally too old for me. After 7 years. As a crowd of both citizens and ninja chased after him, a boy who was shorter than average and about 7 years old ran through the streets of Konoha, tears running down his whiskered cheeks. Demon! And screams rang out across the village as the boy was driven into a cemetery. A brave civilian came forward holding a big stick. Ah, the perfect place to finally rid the village of this demonic brat. The boy retreated into one of the cemetery's side alleys. The only sound he could make at the time was a whisper, "Please, don't hurt me, I haven't done anything." "Oh, but you have, demon. You caused the life of the Yondaime Hokage, and we're gonna make you pay." As he searched for a way out, the boy's gaze landed on a door on his right that led to a small building. He literally leapt through the door and down the steps that led from it, running as quickly as his legs would allow. When he reached the bottom, he made an effort to determine where he was. Taking a breath, he thought, a public restroom at Euro disgusting. He ran deeper into the building after hearing the crowd at the top of the stairs, only to discover a dead end with more restrooms and a homeless man standing next to a sink. "Through you, I will display my power a Euro," a voice that sounded inside the boy's head, dark and almost demonic. Anyone who had just heard a voice like that would have turned around in a panic. Who's there? Before he was thrown into the dark, he simply dismissed it as his imagination when there was no response. He closed his eyes and braced himself for a beating, believing that the mob had discovered him. However, there was absolutely no pain. The room was still dark when he opened his eyes, but he could see clearly, as though he had night vision. He felt as though his mind was on fire as pain shot through his senses a few seconds later. Then he realized that his body was not going to do as he asked. It made the decision to return to the civilians and the door. It was dark again as he approached the stairs. The same evil voice in his head said, "Through you, I am born." When the light came back, he saw black tentacles sticking out of his back and swaying like snakes in the air. There were larger tentacles with a head of some sort on either side of him. They had glowing yellow eyes and long, sharp teeth that seemed too large to fit in their mouths. As though they were craving blood, they gazed longingly at the crowd. He was not in a position to refuse them now. As it made its way to the stairs, his body continued to refuse to comply. Like a submissive animal, one of the tentacles reached forward and extinguished a light at the end of the hall before pulling back to his side. He glanced up the stairs and saw some of the civilians staring down at him, their faces filled with horror as they saw his new limbs. As the civilians staggered up the stairs in an attempt to flee, He hurried up. But no way in hell would he let them do that. He would inflict pain on them. A civilian was caught by a tentacle that was sticking out of his chest where his heart used to be. He was unable to flee in time, and as he fell onto the tentacle, his arms became lifeless and limp. So he called it his demon arm. The majority of the civilians had left, either out of fear or boredom, when he walked out the door. The remaining ones hurled stones, shattered bottles, and, in the case of the few shinobi, kunai and shuriken at him. However, it was all for nothing. All of these would be prevented by the demon arms, and he simply left the building with a casual gait, eager to engage in more combat. A stupid man chose to stand directly next to the doorway, and as a punishment for his foolishness, one of the heads swiftly grabbed his face and threw it against the wall across from him. When the demon arm skewered another man, it immediately threw him into another, knocking him unconscious if not killing him. One of the heads slithered across the ground to one of the people concealed behind the larger graves, whose throat was bitten off, as the boy knelt down. After remembering the head, the boy got to his feet and used 2 demon arms to call forth a huge portal that drew in a large number of the civilians that were still there. Before the voice reverberated in his head, the boy grinned at his achievement. "You are nothing but my puppet." After shaking his head to get rid of that voice, he noticed one last individual. The man was pleading for mercy while on his hands and knees. The boy laughed. They expected mercy after everything they had done to him. No, not today. He walked up to the man, who heard his footsteps and looked up. "Please, let me live, I'll give you anything. Just let me leave with my life," the man begged, his hands visibly clenched and blood-soaked. "Tell me, do demons have mercy?" No, of course not." "Then why should I?" The man's eyes grew wide at this, and he made a vain attempt to retreat. "Who or what are you?" After proudly stating, "You want to know who I am? Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki." The boy ripped out his heart by driving a blood-soaked hand into his chest. He decided that they might be friendlier than the people of Konoha, so he asked one of the heads, "Well, guess these guys were all talk, huh?" After giving a nod, the head dove to sniff the heart that Naruto was holding. You want this?" The head nodded again and then sniffed harder. Naruto said, "Well then, here you go," and he threw the heart into the air. The head swiftly rose to grasp the heart in its jaws before gulping it down. Naruto experienced a slight surge of power as it passed down the creature's throat. "Well, those hearts strengthen me, don't they?" Before leaving the cemetery, the heads and demon arms fading into his body, he thought, "Hey, all the more reason to kill these pitiful villagers." The morning after, when Naruto woke up, he was back in the apartment that the Hokage had given him, with the window next to his bed shining brightly. He got out of his rumpled bed and staggered into the kitchen. He took a ramen cup out of his cupboard, filled it with water, and put it in the microwave, saying, "I think I may have overdone it last night." While waiting for his ramen, he went to his closet and opened it to reveal a row of obscene orange jumpsuits. Why on earth did I purchase that item? Yes, I do recall that it was all they offered to sell me, and even this was incredibly expensive. He grudgingly took out and donned one of the jumpsuits. He went back to the kitchen and sat down to eat his ramen when his door was knocked on. He moaned at not being able to eat his ramen, stood up, and opened the door to see an Anbu in a mask. Itching to return to his favorite food, Naruto said, "Anbu-san, what brings you here?" "I am sorry to interrupt you, Uzumaki-san, but Hokage Sama requests your presence in his office." "Very well, allow me to eat me breakfast and I will be there." "Apologies, but Hokage Sama did specify that this is urgent and cannot wait." Naruto sighed after scowling. "Well, if you insist. I guess I have no choice. May I ask what this is pertaining to?" Despite being shocked by the boy's word choice, the Anbu responded in accordance with protocol. "I am not allowed to divulge that information, Uzumaki-san. Please come with me." As they vanished in a whirl of leaves, Naruto shrugged and held onto the masked nin's arm. They resurfaced in the Hokage Tower lobby, a modest space with a secretary's desk, a couch, and a few vases. A voice interrupted him as he approached the double doors that led to the Hokage's office. "And just where do you think you're going?" He turned to see the secretary's smirking face. He was happy to make her pay along with the rest of the village because he always knew she detested him. G.San sent an Anbu for me, I am going to speak to him. God, I love a chance to mess with the demon brat. He told me he wanted no visitors today. So if I were you, I would get out of here before you make him mad. He'll never meet the Hokage if I get my way, the secretary thought, grinning evilly. Before either could continue, the double doors flew open, revealing the Hokage and a man wearing a face mask and silver hair that defied gravity. Naruto instantly recognized the man as Kakashi Hitaki, and he gave the secretary a heated glare before Sarutobi's loud voice echoed through the tower. He said, Haruta.san, clear your desk and leave by the end of the day. I am hereby ending your career here, which caused the secretary to glare at the boy with the blonde hair and Naruto to smirk triumphantly. Good morning, G.san. You wanted to speak to me? Ah, Naruto. Just the person I wanted to see. Come into my office. The matters I intend to discuss should not be privy to the ears of the public. Is Hitaki.san coming too? With his trademark smile, Kakashi said, yes, but you can forget about the formalities, Naruto. I'd rather be more like an older brother than an elder and superior. Naruto then closed the doors behind him and followed Sarutobi into his office, with Kakashi trailing behind. Sarutobi made a brief hand signal, and the room's corners began to glow a vivid green. Just a simple privacy jutsu. Now, Naruto, I heard about what happened at Trinity Church last night. At that point, Naruto gasped. There's no need to worry, I realized that you did what you needed to. They would have been sentenced to death for breaking one of my laws anyway. With utter innocence and ignorance, Naruto questioned, which law would that be, G.san? Naruto felt uneasy as Sarutobi's expression darkened. Naruto, in order to understand what I'm going to tell you, I will have to tell you a secret that has been kept from you since you were born. You can't tell anyone, for I fear what they would do if they found out. Do you understand? Of course, G.san. What is it? With a sigh, Sarutobi started to explain. Naruto, do you know what happened to the Kyuubi no Yuko 7 years ago? The Yondaime sealed the fox in me, right? The expressions on the faces of the two older ninja were ones of shock and wide eyes. They both had the same thought. How could he have known? Both were rendered mute, but Kakashi was the one who eventually spoke up. With as much composure as possible, he said, Naruto, how do you know that? With a noticeable hint of venom in his voice, Naruto answered, well, it wasn't hard to figure out. I mean, my birthday is on the same day as the Kyuubi attack, plus the villagers weren't unhelpful. Well, if you've figured that out, then this won't be too much of a surprise. The Yondaime's name was Minato Namikaze Estacado Ayuro, your father. What? Naruto, I realize that you probably want to murder most of the village, Sarutobi began. Naruto roared, his eyes changing from their typical ocean blue to a blood-red glow. Oh hell yeah, he said. But I'm afraid I can't let you, no matter how much I want to. The voice added, give me their blood, Shilda Yuro. With the graveyard massacre still fresh in his mind, Naruto asked, that reminds me, do you have any idea what happened to me last night? Something took over me, and I want to know what. Hama Yuro. Ah yes, that is a special ability, almost a bloodline, which has been in your family since your great-grandfather, Anthony Estacado. Naruto placed a hand on his chin and stroked a fictitious beard. So what exactly is it? I mean, it's not just some ordinary power, it keeps talking to me. Well, since it's only been used by 3 people, nobody really knows anything, Kakashi said, wearing a nervous smile on his covered face. Well, all we know is that it's called the darkness, and it's actually a sentient being like the Kyuubi. After his perspiration stopped, Naruto clutched his head in agony as 2 voices roared in his head. You want to know what I can do? I can teach you, make you strong. All you have to do is let me teach of my power. The Kyuubi roared with a condescending laugh, stupid brat. You are not worthy to be my vessel. If I were you, I'd take that parasite up on his offer, you need all the help you can get. Naruto, are you alright? When the blonde Jinchuriki looked up, she saw the elderly Hokage's anxious expression. With a violent shake of his head from side to side, he lowered his hands and stood up. Yeah, I'm fine G.san, but I think I need some time to learn how to use the darkness. Seclusion for training a Euro, that sounds like a fine idea, any clue of how long you'll need? I want to be able to control it by the time I become a genin, so a few years I think. Very well, I shall speak to Iruka Amino to have you enter the academy for the final exam. Naruto bowed and walked out of the room, saying, thank you, G.san. If that's all, I'll be leaving now. I have a few years to gain the strength to destroy this village. There's plenty of time. After 5 years, Konoha Academy. Iruka grinned as he observed the irritated expressions on the students' faces. Welcome, students, to your final exam. You must pass a written test, a taijutsu test, a shuriken and kunai throwing test, and a ninjutsu test. But first, we have a new student, he said. But when a certain pink-haired banshee spoke up, his grin disappeared. Hua. But Iruka. Sensei, how is that fair? We worked hard to get here, and some loser has the nerve to enter just for the exam? Who gave you the right to question the Hokage's ruling, Sakura-chan? A voice from the doorway asked. You could hear everyone's necks cracking as they all turned so quickly. A 13-year-old boy with slightly long blonde hair and deep blue, nearly black eyes caught their attention. He was wearing a short, sleeved black shirt with an orange stripe running down the length of the orange zipper and convergent over each shoulder. The high collar of the shirt obscured half of the boy's face. He was dressed in simple black pants with an orange belt hanging loosely around his waist and a shuriken holster taped to his right leg. Instead of sandals, which also had an orange stripe, he wore black shoes. He had a silver handgun in a holster on his belt, with the word, pestilence, engraved on it and a carving of thorns running down the side of the barrel. Determining people's thoughts was not too difficult. The boy with the blue hair in the shape of a duck's tail said, "Hey, someone to test my power against. He's not as good as Sasuke-kun, regardless of how awesome he looks, Sakura." Oh no, another unruly blonde. A dark-haired boy with a spiky ponytail said. Nom nom nom, said a big boy with spiky brown hair. Shino's eyes widened, but he didn't think, you couldn't tell. A boy with a dog on his head said, "Hey, another chump to beat. That looks like Naruto-kun." A girl with pale eyes and dark blue hair said. "Ah, you must be the boy Hokage," Sama mentioned. After giving a nod, the boy faced the class. "Hi, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Estacado, your new classmate." And yet, you're Naruto?" The whole class cried out. "Can you say that a little louder? I think there's one guy in Suna who didn't quite catch it." Iruka used the giant.head.no jutsu to yell, "Okay, everyone sit down and shut up." Naruto strolled to his seat beside a girl whose long black hair was pulled back in a ponytail. He sat down and looked closely at the girl next to him. He couldn't quite make out what was written on the green t-shirt she was wearing. In addition, she paired her sandals with blue ninja pants. He looked back up at her figure, which guys would stare at, usually with nosebleeds, and girls, especially one Haruno, would die for. As he looked at her face, he noticed that she had a hairstyle that resembled Ino's, and that her hair covered one of her dark brown eyes. On the left side, just above her mouth, she had a silver lip piercing. The girl, a little uneasy in his presence, asked, "Something on my face?" Naruto looked away after realizing he had been staring, but not before answering. Unaware of what he had said, Naruto answered, "Nope, you're perfect." The girl turned away, flushed. A pale-eyed princess, now enraged, watched the scene. Her attempt to take my Naruto-kun is outrageous. After fighting back her blush, the girl turned back to Naruto and said, "Naru Romano, nice to meet y'all." Likewise. After 2 hours. The taijutsu test came after Naruto had aced the written exam and the shuriken test. Alright, the final game. Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Iruka's speech was formal. Estacado. This will be simple, HN. I wish you luck, Dobi. Is that so a Euro? Hajime. Sasuke charged forward, punching him in the face. The darkness wielder grabbed his fist and twisted it, causing him to fall to his knees. Sasuke then kicked him in the chest, knocking him back a few feet. Sasuke then ran at him again, aiming to kick him in the side, but he blocked it with his forearm and threw it back, knocking the Avenger over. His face was twisted in anger as he ran through hand seals, saying, "I'm gonna destroy this Dobi. Nobody messes with the Uchiha." He finished with the Tiger Seal and blew a large fireball at Naruto, the flames engulfing him. "This is a taijutsu match. Sasuke, ninjutsu is prohibited." "Who cares, he's dead now anyway." "Oh, I see." A voice simultaneously came from everywhere and nowhere and said, "Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu." Sasuke let out a girlish scream as he was pulled beneath the ground, and a black tentacle erupted from the ground, wrapping around his leg. The tentacle disappeared, leaving Sasuke with only his head protruding from the ground, and Naruto leapt out of the ground a few feet away, wiping the dirt off his clothes. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Damn it, Estacado. Naruto walked back inside for the ninjutsu test, frustrated that no one could correctly pronounce his name. Iruka said, "Okay, you need to perform the henge, kawarimi and bunshin no jutsu," expecting Naruto to lose it at the mention of clones, but instead he maintained a composed expression while making a hand sign. A cloud of smoke appeared, but it soon dissipated to reveal the Ondaime, who then switched places with an empty chair before transforming back into Naruto and making a hand sign that Iruka didn't recognize. Kage bunshin no jutsu. Iruka was stunned when a huge cloud of smoke appeared and then vanished, revealing 10 Narutos. Well, Congrats! You succeed. After receiving his Hite.8, Naruto merely smiled and walked out of the exam room to discover that everyone was staring at him. What? I believed you were incapable of performing the clone jutsu. Sakura let out a shriek. God, I hate you already, don't make me kill you. Like you could. Want to investigate that theory? No thanks. The following day. Alright, this is the last lesson I will be giving you. You will meet your Junin sensei and start your missions today. Squads 1 through 6 are no longer significant enough to warrant mention. My mom thinks I'm special. Well, your mom's a skank. At least I have a mom. Touch a copyright. Squad 7 will now be a banshee wail, 2 cheers, and an undignified HN, or heard as they say. Squad 7 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, 2 groans, and 1 cheer, and finally, Naru Romano. Uruka. Sensei, how come our team has 4 members? I don't want that hussy anywhere near my Sasuke.kun, Sakura yelled. Pooh. Lise, I wouldn't go near that asshole if you paid me. Anyway, Squad 8 is Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka and Shino Aburame. Squad 9 is still active from last year, so Team 10 is Ino Yamanaka, Shoji Akamichi and Shikamaru Nara. Now that you have your teams, please wait for your team's sensei. Uruka said as she left the room. Ino used this opportunity to observe the opposing teams. Neru's constant glances toward the blonde boy next to her caught her attention. When the Junin sensei for squads 8 and 10 entered, Ino was intrigued and prepared to use the Shintenshin no Jutsu to discover why Naru was so obsessed with Naruto. One was a man with a dark tan, dark blue hair and beard, and a cigarette dangling from his mouth. The other was a woman, similar to the Sharingan but without a tomo, with crimson eyes and long black hair. With a bored tone, the male said, Squad 10, follow me. In a formal, courteous tone, the woman asked, Can Squad 8 come with me please? Squad 7 was left alone in the classroom as the other 2 teams left with their teachers. So, Naruto, what do you think our sensei will be like? Naru responded. I have a good idea that he'll be a pervert with one eye and a mask, but if not, he better be strong. Shouting, and they better hurry the hell up, Sasuke said. After 3 hours, with his arms folded across his chest and pacing back and forth, Naruto yelled, Damn it, there's only one person who could ever be this late. Naruto, sit down. You're making me dizzy. Pinky, don't tell me what to do. I still don't like you. With a sigh, Naru got to his feet. She went to the door and inserted a board eraser into the crack so that it would fall when the door was opened. All right, I'm going to teach our sensei not to be late. Hey, a prankster, huh? I think I'm starting to like you, Naru-chan. When the door opened and the eraser fell onto a head of silver hair that defied gravity, everyone turned and said, Damn it Naruto, stop making me blush. Naruto yelled, Kakashi, long time no see, close. It's good to see you too Naruto, but you have to call me Kakashi, sensei now. I thought you hated that. Kakashi grunted, protocol, and then he vanished in a cloud of smoke. So, now that I've met you, my first evaluation. Pinky, duck butt, I hate you. Naruto, ponytail girl, you're alright. Now meet me up on the roof. Naruto put an arm around Naru's waist, causing her face to flush, and said, Well, better get going. Before vanishing in yet another smoke cloud. After 20 minutes, at last, Sakura and Sasuke arrived at the roof, looking unkempt and sweaty. Sakura gasped in between breaths, who knew, pant. This damn, pant, building was so, pant, tall. So, you're finally here, good. Now, I want you to tell me about yourselves. You know how banshees can be, but 3 of the genin knew this. What do you mean, Kakashi, sensei? I mean your likes and dislikes, hobbies and dreams for the future. From the emo corner, Sasuke said, Why don't you go first, we don't know anything about you. Well, my name is Kakashi Hitaki, my likes are porn. My dislikes are yaoi and fangirls. My hobbies are reading Icha Icha. My dream for the future. Naruto, say nothing. My dream. Never really thought about it. Okay, your turn Naruto. My likes are ramen, darkness and blood. My dislikes are the sun, fangirls and an emo Avenger with duck butt hair. My hobbies are killing things and reading Top Cow comics. My dream is to make the entire world know who I am, one or another. Nice. Ponytail girl, you're next. Right, I'm Naru Romano. My likes are art and the moon. My dislikes are half of my team, noise and any and all gang members. My hobbies are drawing and sleeping. My dream is to become strong enough to protect those close to me. I'm next. I'm Sakura Haruno, I like. Looks at Sasuke. I dislike Naruto and that hussy Neru. My hobbies are. Looks at Sasuke. And my dream is. Looks at Sasuke and giggles. Well, Kakashi thought, that was pointless. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I dislike a lot of things, and don't particularly like anything. What I have is not a dream, for I will make it a reality. I will avenge and revive my clan, and kill a certain someone. Kakashi sounded a little more excited as he said, good, now that we all know each other we can begin. Our first mission will be a survival test. But we did loads of survival exercises in the academy, Kakashi. Sensei. Sakura screamed. Sasuke appeared intrigued, Neru worried, and Naruto bored as Sakura gulped. Not like this. I only have one piece of advice. Don't eat breakfast, unless you want to throw up. We're going to die. Sakura, you better shut up, and if I don't? Sakura naturally retreated when she said, if you don't, I got a magic trick for y'all. I'm gonna shove my arm down your throat and pull a rabbit out your fucking ass. Since Kakashi had already departed, Naruto simply vanished with a single thought. I'll kill them all someday. Ground 7 of training. Good, you're all here. We can begin. We've been waiting here for 2 hours. What the hell happened? A black cat crossed my path and I had to take the long way. Fair enough. Kakashi held up 3 tied bells and said, now, you have until noon to get these bells from me. But sensei, there aren't enough bells. That's because the one who doesn't get one will be sent back to the academy. WHAAT. Naruto held up an arm menacingly and said, Sakura. Sakura ducked behind Sasuke, who immediately stepped aside. After yelling, "Nu! Begin!" Kakashi sensed a problem. The bells were gone when his hand moved to his waist, but that wasn't all. When he reached into his pouch, he discovered only scrolls, pills, and weapons. He had lost his priceless book. When he saw the book and bells in Naruto's hands, his eyes grew wide. Naruto laughed and asked, "Lost something?" before tossing a bell to Sasuke and Neru. When he caught a glimpse of a tentacle slipping into a tree's shadow, Kakashi added, "Well, I guess you passed then. Though I suspect the method of retrieval was unorthodox. Sakura, I would fail you, but I'd much rather see you get beaten mercilessly to a pulp." Hehe, nice. Naruto gave his logic his blessing. Now that's over, we can begin missions. Sasuke, who didn't want to be this close to Naruto with that deadly gleam in his eye, said, "Let's get on with it then." Mission assignment room, 2 weeks later. Akamon G.San. D ranks are boring, there's no .1 to kill. I'm sorry Naruto, but you need to complete 30 D ranks in order to qualify for a C rank, Sarutobi said. With a drop of perspiration on her temple, Neru informed him, Hokage. Sama, we've done 48 D ranks. Really? Then I guess you can have a C rank. You will be escorting the bridge builder Tazuna back to his home in Nami no Kuni, and protecting him while he finishes his bridge. Since it's only a C rank, the worst you'll encounter are bandits and common thieves, so it shouldn't be any problem. Tazuna.san, you can come in now. An elderly man entered the room holding a half-empty or half-full, for optimists, bottle of sake while wearing a sacket on his head. Is this it? A midget with blonde hair, a weak-looking girl with a huge forehead, a kid with duck butt hair and a guy with one eye. This is not worth the cash €. Speaking of which, how much is this going to cost? 250 Ryu. I'll give you 15, it's non-negotiable. $35, that's my final offer, Ukaya euro. Kakashi vanished in a whirl of leaves, saying, "You four, pack your things and meet me in the client at the village gate." In an instant, Naruto disappeared and resurfaced in his apartment. Now, what should I pack? A small backpack with a single diagonal strap was given to him. He packed it full of jutsu and sealing scrolls, a book on sealing, multiple pots of instant ramen, extra sets of clothes that were exactly like the ones he was wearing, and several sets of kunai and shuriken. He glanced at the sword resting against a wall in the room's corner. Like a knife, it had a long, curved blade. It had a red leather handle that was unguarded because the blade was too wide to be useful. The blade's side was surrounded by spikes, and at its base was a skull with a crown. Before deciding to accept it, Naruto considered his options. He connected it to a magnet concealed in the back of his shirt and slung it over his back. He received this blade from Sarutobi on his 12th birthday, which was an heirloom of the Namikaze Estacado clan. Never letting it leave his sight, he had adored it. He was a fairly skilled swordsman because he had asked Tenten, a girl from the year above him, to teach him kenjutsu. He walked out the door, locked it behind him, and roof. Jumped to the gate with his bag full and the sword on his back. Naruto, I know you're trying to be cool with that sword, but it won't work. Why you'll never be as cool as Sasuke-kun. Why would I want to be anything like that asshole? I go my own path, Pinky. Hey, Dobi. That sword, I want it. Give it to me. No chance, Paper.fan. This sword belongs to me and my clan. There's no way in hell, which is incidentally where you'll go if you touch it, that I'll let you have this. Idiot. Something like that should only be in the hands of Uchiha. Give it to me now. I already said no. Maybe if you get that 10-foot pole out of your ass you can use that as a weapon. If you won't give it to me, I'll simply make the council force you to give it to me. Hey, that'll just give me more reason to kill them. Kakashi intervened, not wanting a fight to start before they had even left the village, saying, okay, let's end this conversation before it gets out of line, shall we? I would kill him first. Out of line? Of course not, Kakashi. Sensei, you know it wouldn't come to that. Good, then let's get going. After an hour. Man, this is boring. I thought since we were leaving the village there would be something to do, but there's nobody out here. Wait a minute, a euro, Naruto said as a puddle appeared. For weeks, it hasn't rained. Why in the world is there a puddle here? I hope it means a fight, whatever it is. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted when two Kiri Chunin emerged from the puddle-wielding clawed gauntlets that were chained together. The Oni brothers. One of them told his brother, so, the yellow one seems to know us, Gozu. The other roared as he hurried over to Naruto, saying, indeed, Maizu. Maybe he'll have the pleasure of tasting our claws. Naruto leapt into the shade of a nearby tree, avoiding Gozu's claws. One could only characterize what transpired there as a nightmare. Naruto's eyes became yellow, shedding light on his new form in the shadows. A number of thorny tentacles jutted out from his back and waved in the air like living things. Hovering on either side of him were two tentacles with heads attached. In place of his nails, his hands now had long, black claws. The black scales of a reptilian tail glinted in the low light as it swayed back and forth. Finally, I get to kill. Gozu attempted to block a tentacle that sprang forward with his gauntlet. Try is the key word. Like rice paper, the tentacle ripped through the reinforced steel. Gozu pulled his severed hand back and leapt away, only to have a tentacle in his heart pin him to a tree. Maizu jumped at Naruto with the intention of ripping his throat off because he was furious at seeing his brother dead. A clawed hand wrapped itself around his head and began to slowly crush it, stopping him in his tracks. When the missing Nin's head collapsed, all of Naruto's tentacles pierced his body, scattering blood and brain matter across the clearing. Holy shit, Naruto. What the hell was that? Exclaimed Neru, concerned about Naruto's condition. This is my power, a euro, the darkness. Another tentacle struck Sasuke in the chest, sending him crashing into a tree. Dobi, give me that power. Only Uchiha deserves. Sasuke was interrupted. Naruto disappeared and then resurfaced in Sasuke's tree's shade. His yellow eyes narrowed as he approached the Avenger with the raven hair. It goes without saying that Sasuke retreated at that moment. I swear, if you don't get that pole out of your ass and stop being such a vengeance. Crazed lunatic, I promise I will ram my fist through your heart. I've done it before, I'll do it again. After turning off the darkness, Naruto entered the light. He was used to total darkness, so his eyes stung a little. So, shall we continue on? The scene that Naruto and the two now corpses had just acted out made Kakashi a little uneasy. A euro, yeah, a euro, he said. Kakashi broke out of his panicked reverie with the words, no, wait. Just a second. Yes, I just made that word up. Tazuna-san. Those two were of Chunin rank, no matter how easily they were taken care of. That would bump this mission up to a B or maybe even a rank depending on what happens later. I'm going to need to know why you lied to us and then decide if we continue with the mission. Well, it all started like Thesa Euro, Land of Waves, 3 hours later. Naruto grumbled, wow, that was one long ass story. Neru concurred, saying, it was a bit lengthy. Angry and still in pain from the clearing, the Brood King muttered, who cares, let's just get this over with. They kept moving until Naruto halted. His gaze swept across the space, searching for something. Neru questioned, perplexed, what is it, Naruto? A huge sword swung through the air and then embedded itself in a tree as Naruto yelled, there's someone here, but I can't tell wher. Get down. A voice from the trees said, Ahahaha, Euro Kakashi Hitaki, the copy ninja Euro, it's a pleasure to finally meet. With his back to the Konoha team, a tall man with bandages covering his face landed on the sword. Zabuza Momochi, The demon of the hidden mist. I'd say I'm glad to have met you, but my mother told me not to lie. At the top of his lungs, Naruto exclaimed, "Oh my god. Zabuza Momochi." Everyone started to perspire. "Can you sign my bingo book?" they asked. Everyone started to perspire once more when he pulled out an orange book with a picture of a man and woman on the cover. "Oops, wrong book." Kakashi exclaimed, "You said you'd give that back, Naruto." "Heh, sorry. Why'd ya want my autograph, kid?" "Because you're my idol," Naruto exclaimed, his eyes shining brightly. "Ukaya Euro, why? I dunno, probably because you kill people." "So, you too? Nice. Excuse me? Can we fight now?" Kakashi, do we have to? I want to talk with the little murderer, he's cool." "No, talk later. Fight now." "Fine, but I get to fight the kid." When a tentacle swung toward the missing nin, who leapt to the ground and took his sword with him, Naruto's eyes turned yellow once more. "You just signed your own death sentence." He swung his sword at the blonde estacado as he hurried forward, his feet hitting the floor. Before a clawed hand could reach Zabuza's heart, another tentacle blocked the sword. Zabuza leapt back and skidded across the floor. He saw a burst of yellow energy flying at him, and his eyes widened. Recalling the hole in his sword, he raised it to block. Zabuza's skin was burned when the blast went through the hole. He saw Naruto standing there with his gun in hand, the barrel smoking, after the energy blast's smoke had cleared. "Like my little toy? I can charge it with darkness power and fire a shot of pure darkness. If you're wondering, the reason it's yellow is because that's the color of my eyes. No other reason known." As he vanished into a rapidly approaching cloud of mist, Zabuza remarked, "Well, guess I better kick it up a notch. Kirigakure no Jutsu. 8 targets. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart. Which one should I strike first?" Naruto questioned, "How about none?" Before launching a number of demon arms in various directions, sure that at least one would capture him. Fortunately, one did. Arg, damn it. How the hell is this kid able to do so much damage? I thought you would have realized by now, Zabu-chan. I'm no ordinary kid. Alright, one more move, then it's all over. Winner takes all, would I say, kid? Nah, I'll let Kakashi take over now, I'm bored. Seriously, it was just getting fun. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan and remarked, "Oh well, Zabuza. You have to deal with me now." "Hey, you need that to beat me? That says a lot about my skills, Kakashi." Zabuza snarled as Kakashi remarked, "And that says a lot about Naruto's skills." Zabuza yelled, "Suiden. Suiryuden." Kakashi mimicked his every word and gesture. When the two water dragons collided, they neutralized one another. "This isn't going to end here, damn it. I simply must use that jutsu." "Suiden. Daibakufu no Jutsu," exclaimed Kakashi, as if he could read Zabuza's mind. What I was going to do was exactly that. Is he able to see into the future? As he found himself ensnared in a massive wave, Zabuza thought. As Naruto put it, "Well, that's that. Now can we finish the mission?" After replacing his Hite.8, Kakashi approached Zabuza and narrowed his eyes, saying, "Nope, gotta check on him." How could I have been beaten?" Zabuza screeched, unable to control his typical roar. "Can you see the future?" As Kakashi concluded his sentence, 3 senbon needles appeared out of nowhere and impaled themselves in Zabuza's neck. "Yes, and I foresee your death." From the tops of the trees, a feminine voice said, "Thank you for weakening him for me, Konoha.nin. Without you, my task would have been much more difficult." When Naruto looked up, he saw a Hunter.nin standing there with more senbon between her fingers who was not much older than him. Naruto bowed and declared, "The pleasure is all mine, Hunter.san." After nodding and gathering the body, the Hunter.nin vanished into a whirlpool of foliage. Now that Zabuza was out of danger, Naru asked, "So, Naruto, why didn't you use your sword?" "There was no need to. Zabu-chan would have gone down even if I didn't use pestilence." "Pestilence? The gun?" Kakashi began. "Okay, now let's get to Tazun. Ziza Euro, before passing out." "Arg, Kakashi, you damn lightweight a Euro. My first death occurred on the evening of my 14th birthday, as I recall." In a conversation he never seemed to start, Kakashi concluded, "And that's why I think Zabuza is still alive." Shouting, Sakura said, "But we saw him die." Sweat dropping, Naruto remarked, "Sakura, I think you may be forgetting, we're ninja. We're supposed to be sneaky, so we can pretend to be dead." A young boy wearing a white hat suddenly interrupted their conversation. Tazuna patted the boy's head and said, "Ah, Inari. Say hello to the leaf ninja that helped me get back, eh? But G.San, they're all gonna die." At that point, the room's temperature significantly decreased. Slowly, everyone looked around to see what was causing the tension. There was so much murderous intent from Naruto that the room was trembling. "What did you say, brat?" When Naruto's eyes turned yellow, this time with black slits, Inari's emo tirade came to an end. "I said, you're all gonna die. No one can stand up to Gato. Who gave you the right to judge our skills when you don't know anything about us? It doesn't matter how strong you are. Gato's got an army of mercenaries, there's no way you can win against him. Kid, you don't have the right to be as emo as you are, you haven't had a bad enough life." "Not a bad enough life. What would you know about pain and suffering? I bet you live a nice comfy, well-provided life back in your village. So don't lecture me about life." Kakashi grumbled. This child was having a lot of problems. Naruto roared, his voice turning demonic as the darkness spoke to him. "A nice comfy life, huh? What I wouldn't give for one of those euro unless you call assassination attempts, beatings, setting your apartment on fire, and just general hate to be comfy. You must be frickin' insane. Don't you say that you know more about suffering, at least you have a mother and grandfather." "I have nothing." Before anyone could say another word, Inari fled the room and up the stairs because he was so terrified. Before Naruto spoke again, there was a brief period of silence in the room. Before anyone could stop him, he said, "I'm going out to train. I've had enough of this, too many emos around here." The next to speak was Tazuna. Was what he said true? The eyes of everyone, except Sakura and Sasuke, who believed he was lying, widened when Naruto said, "I'm afraid what Naruto said was an interpretation with a lethal amount of sugar on it. Nami no Kuni forest. Damn that little brat." Naruto yelled while repeatedly striking a tree. With the sound of falling trees all around him, Naruto fell onto his back after continuing to punch trees until he was too exhausted to do so any longer. With a sigh, he closed his eyes and fell into a state of sweet unconsciousness. Water covered the floor as he entered a familiar system of sewer tunnels. He turned to face the walls, where tiny tentacles swayed in the air and yellow eyes stared back at him. As usual, he made his way through the sewers. A short while later, he was in a big room with a cage and a piece of paper with the kanji seal on it. Two large red slitted eyes in the cage's shadow, and larger tentacles and more eyes adorned the walls of this room. "What do you want, brat? I don't want to spend eternity being irritated by a little bug like you." From inside the cage came a demonic voice. "Oh come on, Kyuubi. I'm bored, I want someone to annoy." "Then go find the Banshee, we both know you'd rather be annoying her." "I don't want to be anywhere near that house for the time being." Another voice suddenly came from everywhere and said, "You two should stop now, someone is coming." "Seriously? Man, can't I ever get any peace, darkness?" "Of course not, that would be good for you." Naruto discovered a person kneeling over him after breaking contact with the two demonic entities. A girl with pale skin and long black hair, dressed in a pink kimono with sakura petals on it. In addition, she had a basket of herbs in her hand and a black choker around her neck. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked, blinking as he realized he had been unconscious on the ground. To get his favorite response, Naruto answered, "Yeah, I'm fine. Though I wouldn't worry, those looks could bring the dead back." The girl flushed. "Bingo. So, what are you doing out here, miss?" "I'm collecting herbs for someone I know. They're feeling ill and I need certain herbs to heal them. It turns out that these herbs are used to treat immobility. Mind if I help?" This girl might be the hunter. Nin, working for Zabuza. "Sure, if you tell me why you're out here." Naruto looked at the fallen trunks surrounding the area and remarked, "Well, I came out here to train, but I ended up taking my anger out on these trees." While assisting her in gathering the necessary herbs, Naruto observed that she was quietly approaching him. After they were done, Naruto stood up and extended his hand to assist her in standing up. I guess I just have that effect on women." Recalling what Naruto had done to Zabuza during their battle, the girl froze in terror and said, "Tell Zabuza to get well soon, from me, will ya?" What do you mean? Come on girl, don't think you can hide it from me. It's blaringly obvious that you were the hunter. Nin from before and that you were working for Zabuza. Are you going to tell your sensei? Now why would I do that? I was going to offer you and Zabuza a chance of freedom from the hunters who are obviously after you." "Freedom? How could you offer freedom?" "Well, I hold a certain sway over the Hokage, we have a relationship resembling family. I could get him to let you and Zabu-chan live in the village in peace." Hope filled the girl's face. "Are you serious? You could actually do that?" "Sure, if you want to. Just let me talk to Kakashi, and you can tell Zabuza. My name's Naruto, by the way. Naruto Uzumaki Estacado. They call me Haku, so that's not your real name? No, it is. Then why'd you say, they call me Haku? Because it's my name. Oh, right. The following morning, at Tazuna's residence. Naruto, you baka. Why the hell did you run off? Go and apologize to Inari for lying about all that stuff. I wasn't lying, bitch, but thanks, you made me feel so much better. Come together, folks. We need to talk about something. Kakashi yelled from a room upstairs. Fearing that Naru would take the desired Uchiha spot, Sakura barged into the room and literally ran to sit next to Sasuke. Naruto simply walked over to a wall and took a seat with his back to it. His eyes were shut, and he had a serious expression on his face. Wondering what was wrong, Naru simply gazed at Naruto. Okay, now that we're all here, we can begin. We have reason to believe that Zabuza and the rest of Gado's men will attack the bridge. However, those needles the fake hunter.nin hit Zabuza with should put him out for about a week at least. So, we need to use this time to train. Sakura, eager to impress Sasuke, not that it will help her, asked, what are we going to be training in, sensei? Sounding bored once more, Kakashi said, meet me in the forest, and I'll tell you, before vanishing. When Naru turned to speak with Naruto, he had already left, leaving only a few traces of smoke to indicate that he had ever been there. To put it mildly, she was irritated that she was not given the opportunity to rekindle her relationship with him. The four genin discovered Kakashi standing in front of 4 trees in the forest, holding 4 kunai. Today, you'll be climbing trees. Sakura asked, clearly oblivious to the challenge of the seemingly straightforward exercise, but sensei, how is that training? The genin's expressions made Kakashi smile, because you'll be climbing trees without using your hands, he said. Most of the genin, anyway. A voice from the top of a nearby tree asked, is that all? Naruto was standing upside down on the tallest branch of the tree when everyone looked up. Sasuke appeared enraged that Naruto was able to do that while he was unable to. Sakura chanted in her head that Sasuke could do that if he so desired, but she still looked amazed. Since she had witnessed too many strange things from Naruto, Naru didn't care. Nothing surprised her anymore. Well, it seems our resident Estacado is full of surprises. Let me ask you this, how many chakra control exercises have you done? Kakashi's visible eye widened before closing. Hama-Euro tree walking, water walking, kunai balancing and several others you probably don't know about. He scowled as he considered a possible action for Naruto. Naruto, I want you to find a quiet spot and meditate. You need to fully control your power if you want to get stronger. Naruto turned and left 3 irritated genin behind, saying, fair enough, see ya. Naruto discovered a pond with a big rock in the middle of it. Naruto sat on the rock after water. Walking out to it, entering his mind, he was reunited with the well-known network of tunnels, the eyes and tentacles no longer frightening but calming. Naruto, what are you doing here? I need to be able to control you. Ha 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 ha, good luck. The only person ever to control me is long dead, and the items he used are long gone. Well, where are they? They're in the otherworld, brat. Somewhere you'll never be able to go, Kyuubi chimed in. Before exiting his mindscape, Naruto uttered the words, crap, guess this was a waste of time then. When Naruto woke up, he saw a face very similar to his own. Haku. What the hell? Haku broke out in a flush and backed away so quickly that she was obscured. Sorry, I was only checking you were okay. Yeah right. Did you speak with Zabuza? Yup, but he's a little paranoid, he thinks you might be trying to trick him. Huh, that makes sense. Is the information we received about the attack on the bridge correct? Yes, Zabuza and I will be attacking the bridge in a week's time. I will try to change his mind before then. Haku, I want you to be careful. Gado's track record would suggest that he doesn't plan on paying. I think he will kill you once you've completed the job. Hey, he can try. Of course, I would do anything to repay you, Naruto.kun, if you were to protect me. Anyway, I'd better be heading back. I need to think some things over. See you next week then, I'll try not to kill your comrades. You can kill the duck butt and Pinky, just leave Sensei and Naru alive. After a week, Kakashi loaded his kunai pouch and said, okay, is everyone ready? As ready as we'll ever be, Naru said, placing a few senbon in a holster and tying a red scarf around her neck. You guys go ahead, I have to take care of something, Naruto uttered, detecting the presence of 2 foreigners nearby. You scared, Dobi? Not at all, I just think something's wrong. Everyone except Naruto left the house and made their way to the bridge after hearing the words, "Okay people, move out." After removing his sword from where it was resting on his back, Naruto left the house. When he saw two sword-wielding men walking confidently toward him, he gripped his sword handle tighter. One was tall, darkly tanned, and covered in tattoos and scars. Several pieces of cloth were hanging from his waist, and bandages were wrapped around his stomach. He had a katana in a sheath on his hip and was dressed simply in sandals. His partner wore a purple beanie over his shorter, gray hair. He was dressed in brown shorts and a purple coat. Like the first, he was armed with a katana and sandals. The first asked his shorter partner, "Looks like one of those ninjas stayed behind, eh Zori?" "Indeed, Waraji. But he is of no importance, we were sent to get the woman." "So I can cut him?" "Sure, go wild. Don't I get a say in this? I don't particularly want to get cut." "Too bad, kid. Time to die. Oh, if you can grant me that, I will be very surprised." Waraji yelled, "Cocky little bastard," and then charged at him, sword in hand. One step ahead, Naruto vanished into thin air, only to reappear a few feet behind Zori. He used a brand-new jutsu technique to swing his sword. Yamaten. Kuro Yeba. From Naruto's sword's curve, a crescent of black energy shot toward Zori, its yellow edges pulsing with strength. It struck Zori's back and went through as though nothing had been there. Despite Zori being sliced in two, the crescent persisted. Waraji attempted to block it with his own sword, which was also sliced in two, but it flew in his direction. Waraji was impaled on a tentacle after attempting to leap out of the way. Naruto's demon heads advanced to seize the men's hearts after they were both dead, tearing them from their chests and then consuming them. Naruto muttered, "HMPH, not worth the trouble," and then leapt from a tree in the direction of the bridge. Land of Waves Bridge. A euro on the bridge, Kakashi was trapped in a thick mist, courtesy of Zabuza Momochi, while Sasuke was stuck in Haku's ice dome. Sakura was standing in front of Tazuna, doing absolutely nothing, but there was no sign of Neru. "Come on, Naruto." A demon arm flew straight through her mirrors, shattering them one by one. "I don't know how long I can keep Zabuza Sama and myself from killing them," Haku thought. "I may have managed to convince him, but I'm pretty sure the rest of your team don't know." On Sasuke's unconscious body lay a pair of yellow, glowing eyes that were like a pincushion filled with resentment. "Looks like you had fun, Haku-chan. Oh yeah, it's always fun to stab an asshole. Now we just gotta stop Zabuza and Kakashi. A euro. Where's Neru?" "No clue. I hope she's bitch-slapping the pink one." "Oh, we all do." Haku and Naruto sprinted off in the direction of the chirping of birds and dogs. What they discovered there was a little strange. 6 dogs of various sizes were holding Zabuza down, and Kakashi was holding lightning in his hand a few meters away. Running forward, Kakashi pushed his electrified hand in the direction of the trapped Zabuza. But before he could get to him, a demon arm swiftly seized his hand and threw it back, causing the lightning to vanish. "Man, can't I leave you two alone for 1 minute?" "Naruto, what are you doing? They are our enemies." "Actually Kakashi, Zabuza and Haku-chan have decided to come to Konoha. But they're missing nin. Technically Haku isn't a missing nin, as she was never registered as a ninja. And as for Zabuza, the procedure for accepting missing nin is a 1-month probation period," Naruto said with an authoritative tone. "Anyway, it doesn't matter if they're our enemies, as they won't be in a little while. I feel they're going to be betrayed in 3 euro 2 euro 1 euro. So, you weren't able to finish the job. I'm disappointed in you. I suppose it doesn't matter though, as I never intended on paying you," came the voice of Gato. "Told ya so. Yeah, don't act so smug, kid." Gato yelled, "So, now I'll be terminating your contract, Zabuza. Attack," as gang members, bandits, and other brawler types rushed onto the bridge from a boat that was floating alongside it. Yamaten. Dai Kuro Yeba. Compared to the crescent that defeated Waraji and Zori, this one was substantially larger. The majority of the crowd was sliced in two by it. The vast majority of the others were defeated by a combination of demon arm strikes, pestilence blasts, and sword slashes. What are you?" Gato yelled, furiously urinating. Zabuza just roared as he ran forward, saying, "Hee Euro, I'm the darkness. Zabuza, he's all yours." Before kicking Gato, which knocked his body off the bridge, he swung his Kabikari Hucho at him, cutting him down. Naruto said, "Well, I guess it's all over, eh?" just before he heard someone scream. Sakura had witnessed a Naruto massacre survivor sprinting toward him while brandishing a sword. The man was on Naruto before he could respond. He shut his eyes and waited for his body to be punctured by the icy steel of the blade. However, it never materialized. He heard Sakura scream again and a few drops of blood fall to the ground, but it wasn't unfounded this time. When he opened his eyes, the sword had impaled Naru in front of him. As his demon arms moved on their own, Naruto's face was a picture of rage. After slowly crushing the survivor's body with their wraps, they stabbed him multiple times and tore him to pieces. Naru was placed on the ground after another arm took the sword from her stomach. "Noa Euro no 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 no," roared Naruto, his arms securing him and preventing him from destroying everything in his path. "En Naruto a Euro, take everyone a Euro and go a Euro," was all Naru could manage to mutter. "Hell no, I'm not gonna leave you here to die." Feeling her go limp in his arms, Naruto said, "Don't worry, I'll die with a smile on my face. Just knowing someone like you actually cared about me a Euro, now go a Euro please a Euro." Red chakra swirled around his angry form as he closed his eyes. Together with the yellow darkness power, this chakra produced an orange blaze of energy that seemed to suffocate everything it came into contact with. Bridge fragments started floating in midair and gradually tearing themselves to pieces. He opened his eyes, which had a black slit pupil but were still yellow. He got to his feet, knocking the other ninja back as a wave of the orange power swept over everything nearby. An angry tail made of Naruto's orange energy swayed behind him. The force of his kick caused cracks in the ground as he leapt into the air. He was too fast to see after his leap, which pushed him out of sight. "Kakashi, is he okay?" Zabuza inquired, concerned for almost everyone in the world at the moment. "To be Hinesta Euro, I don't know. The forest, or more accurately, the forest's former location." Naruto was racing through a forest that was on fire, with no specific destination in sight. Soon, everything that stood in his way would be burning a few miles away. His rage-filled eyes searched the area for something to murder. Rather, he discovered a church haphazardly positioned in the center of the woodland. Naruto blew the doors off their hinges as he entered the church, saying, "Probably made for pilgrims or something." He approached the altar and gazed into a mirror that had somehow been positioned there. He looked at his own image, the black tentacles swaying, the demonic heads hovering next to him, the yellow slitted eyes. "Ah, what did they do to Neru?" The darkness added, using his present weakness as cover. Shut up a Euro, she was a burden, this is freedom." Naruto yelled, "Shut up already," as he started back down the aisle toward the door and then stopped. "Where are you going?" "Where I can find something to control you, so this doesn't happen again." "No, Naruto. This is not your time, goodbye." "No, cannot, must not." After a gunshot reverberated through the church's hallways, there was silence. "Additionally, that was the first time I passed away. Where the fuck am I? You should not be here." When Naruto awoke, he discovered that he was in the midst of a battle. He lay at the bottom of a muddy trench in a wooden shack. 3 other soldiers in various uniforms were being executed by a soldier wearing a spike on his helmet. They were his enemies, of course. The strange thing is that their faces were all stitched up, as though they had been torn apart and poorly reassembled. He wasn't even certain that anyone could survive on that. By all accounts, they ought to be dead. Every time, the soldier with the spike hat would approach the blue uniformed soldiers, aim at their heads, and start shooting. No regret, no words, no feeling at all. When Naruto realized the darkness had materialized and would not go away, he got to his feet. This was how he was stuck. When Naruto realized he had just made himself more visible, he yelled, "Well, better get going at Euro, oh shit." IHN Zuta paragraph mark 10. Kill him. The German soldiers aimed and fired, but Naruto's demon arms deflected the bullets. "Bring it on, bitches." They went. Naruto aimed himself and struck the closest soldier in the chest with a pestilence blast. Naruto concentrated on the other soldiers after he fell like a ton of bricks. But after a little while, Naruto realized something was amiss. No more soldiers ever showed up from around the corner, and the number of soldiers never decreased. Something grabbed his leg, interrupting his thoughts. When he looked down, he saw a soldier's upper body gripping his leg like a vice grip, attempting to stop him in any way so his fellow soldiers could kill him. The half-soldier was dead on the ground after the blonde took aim and shot him in the head. Then he saw it. As if they were undead, every soldier he had just killed was rising again. Which they most likely were. To his surprise, the soldier did not rise again after Naruto shot another and sent a demon head to tear out his heart. Naruto sent a Kuroyaba at a group of soldiers and then harvested their cold, dead hearts, thinking, "So, I gotta take their hearts to kill them? Seems easy enough." One of the soldiers yelled, "Fa 1/4 Arden Kaiser," for the Kaiser, and leapt to kill Naruto. He was obviously unable to continue since he was impaled on a demon arm that was passing through his heart before it detached itself and the heart together. Naruto dashed through the trench and onto no man's land after the soldiers had all been defeated. No man's land was an absolute nightmare if the trench was bad. There are soldiers everywhere, concealed by fallen trees, rocks, and even demolished buildings. And there was a person atop a sizable hill in the middle. This individual was bound to some sort of leather and wood device that resembled enormous wings. Furthermore, the individual attached to it had a long beak in place of a mouth, and he continued to screech like a large bird. The darkness uttered, "Pestilencia Euro, one of the four Euro," in the back of his mind. You again. You should know by now that you can't get rid of me, Naruto-kun. Naruto replied, unfortunately. As he made his way to a sizable bunker carved into the side of a cliff, he discovered additional soldiers and a few firearms inside. While he picked up a rifle and slung it over his back, he also picked up several more pistols and placed them on his belt. Finally, somewhere bullets actually exist. He discovered a locked door after making his way through the tunnels. Using his creeping dark technique, he squatted down and sent a demon head slithering up the wall and along the ground, passing through an air vent into the next room to unlock the door. He picked up his rifle, remembered his demon head, and shot a soldier behind a corner in the head before stealing his heart. He managed to escape the bunker and emerged onto a second field of mud and corpses, dotted with craters from detonated explosives and wrecked cars. Other soldiers rushed out to stop him, but his combined swordplay and gunfire killed them all. He was still in pain, though. He noticed the issue and glanced around to see if anyone had shot him. He was being burned by the sun's light streaming down onto the battlefield through the clouds. In an attempt to avoid the sun as much as possible, he fled for cover until he came across another trench. But this one was crowded with blue uniformed soldiers. Naruto deduced that these must be the British if the Germans were attempting to murder him. You must be the Yank they told us about. Anthony's waiting for you in the village, he was told by one man. Naruto said, surveying the trench, thank you. He noticed a man curled up in a ball in a corner. He eventually brought a gun to his temple and fired. Suicide Corner was written on a blood-stained sign behind him, which Naruto glanced at. After some time of wandering, he came upon a sign that said, the village, and indicated a hole in the ground that most likely led to a sewer. With the lights blazing along the ceiling, Naruto raised the hatch and descended into the tunnel. Naruto made the decision to make some clarifications while traveling. So, darkness, what did you mean when you said, one of the four? That creature was Pestilence, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So where are the other three? I'm afraid I don't know where death, famine and war are. Naruto sarcastically exclaimed. Well, that's helpful. Naruto discovered a ladder that led to a door, which he ascended and exited. Apart from the soldiers, there didn't seem to be any other people in the small settlement where he was. Pretty pointless to have a village Haria Euro. A man with a mustache informed him, it's young Estacado. Best get into the church, eh? He's waiting for you in the church. It's a lie, Naruto. The blonde Jinchuriki wandered the village in search of the church's entrance. He crossed to the opposite side and discovered a door with a cross painted on it that led to the church's basement. After opening the door, Naruto entered a room with hospital beds that held patients in varying degrees of disfigurement. One man even had only a head on top of his torso and no limbs. A man in the same blue uniform, but without any stitches on his face, stood at the end of the room. Despite never having seen the face before, it was uncannily familiar. Naruto? Naruto, holy shit, are you a sight for sore eyes? Listen kid, I know there are a lot of things you're not gonna understand but you gotta trust me. Now you've arrived, I think we're gonna find out what's happening here, the man replied. Do I know you? My name is Tony Estacado. Okay, this is gonna sound weird but I guess that I'm your great-grandfather. What the hell is this place? Don't you see it? Everything happened here, Naruto. This is where it all began. That's why I'm back in this goddamn nightmare war. It's why we all are. I brought this darkness into our family. This is all my fault. What do you know about the darkness? Do you know why it chose me? I don't know a Euro, it needs a host, I guess. I messed up, Naruto. I brought it into the family. I didn't realize it would do this to us. The darkness a Euro, what the hell is it? The darkness is a living thing. It's some kind of a creature, old as time. It passes down from generation to generation, making itself known when the firstborn male finds himself in grave danger. Why did it bring me here? It needs its human host to stay alive. Somehow you broke the rules, Naruto. You died before your time. The darkness has to keep you here while it puts you back together. It won't allow you to die. How do I stop Thesa Euro and how do I get out? Listen, there might be a way to control it. I found out that a long time ago one of the human hosts forged 2 special weapons that were used to control the darkness. Promise me, Naruto, that you'll go find them. You gotta learn how to control this thing before it's too late. Thus, the objects that Kyuubi and the darkness discussed were weapons. It sounds like fun. With the hills painted on the wall next to it, Naruto turned and left the church, walking toward a door in the wall. As he walked away, he heard Anthony shout back to him. Don't listen to the darkness, Naruto, it'll lie to protect itself. While the darkness tried to talk him out of it, Naruto kept moving in the direction of the door, saying, don't believe him. Ignoring him, Naruto entered a tunnel that led to a different sewer system, one of which had a big bell over its exit. Go no further, Naruto. Parts of the bell crumbled and fell off when Naruto grabbed it with a demon arm and threw it against the wall across from him. Naruto entered a spacious open area after passing through the exit. He glanced out into the field and gave a brief overview of his circumstances. Oh, shit. The hills, the otherworld. Naruto yelled, how the fuck am I supposed to get through here with all these damn zombies? As he noticed that the field was almost completely covered in them. Why don't you just use me? I could take care of these in a second, Kyuubi replied. Are you sure? You remember that you have to rip out their hearts, right? You think the Kyuubi no Yuko is scared of eating a few hearts? Naruto.kun, you're underestimating me. Naruto gave up control of his body and allowed the fox to take over, saying, whatever, just try not to destroy my body. Naruto's body developed a chakra tail under Kyuubi's control, which instantly combined with the darkness to produce the same orange energy as at the bridge. As he ripped through the desolate hills, Naruto vanished from view, but he broke through more than just that. He was able to tear the zombies to shreds with his claws without ever slowing down. The orange energy and the chakra tail vanished as Kyuubi returned control to Naruto after all of the zombies had been vanquished and their hearts had been eaten. Well, Kyuubi, I have to give you credit for finishing the task. Did you anticipate anything less? As Naruto approached the end of a path with torches burning on either side, he noticed another wooden statuesque pillar similar to Pestilence's, but this time, 3 people were tied up and inverted. Naruto looked at the pillar and said, well, I guess we found out what happened to the other 3 horsemen. Then he heard a voice from the person at the bottom of the pillar. Are you familiar with the word hope? In order to whisper, Naruto knelt down and placed his mouth close to the man's ear. Naru. Use the weapons carefully, or the darkness will devour your soul. Naruto reached for the man's waist and produced 2 strange firearms. One had a wooden handle, a lot of wire on top, and 5 barrels. The other had a leather wrapped handle, adorned with numerous demonic decorations, and a 6-round magazine. It was appropriate that neither weapon appeared to be human-made. Oh yeah, time to kick some ass. After encountering more zombies along the way, Naruto decided to grin and brandish his new weapons, the darkness guns, instead of letting Kyuubi take control. He fired the left one, sending a bolt of electricity into the body of a nearby zombie, imploding his heart and defeating the need to devour it, and then he fired the right one, sending a shockwave that sent a group of zombies flying into the air from the force of the blast. Naruto smirked and unleashed a barrage of the guns, swiftly destroying the army of zombies. After that, he continued his leisurely stroll back to the village, passing through the wall door and into the church, where he found Anthony, instead of the infirmary, but in a room further underground. What the fuck did you find them, Naruto? Yes, I have them. Now what? You are the one who made it to those hills, even though the British have been fighting for centuries to get there. Okay, so this is what else I am aware of. This thing is there. It is also heavily fortified by the darkness. An old castle with a cannon outside. A cannon? How can I access it? The cannon is connected to an underground sewer system. Strange things are creeping up everywhere, Krauts. I believe the darkness had a purpose for placing them there. Anthony turned to his men and said, steady your rifles. The only way is right down here, through the catacombs. Keep an eye out and shoot the first thing that moves. Now, Naruto, hurry up and move as quickly as you can. Keep your eyes forward. Hurry. Naruto took out the darkness guns and descended into the sewer. This is a mistake. Oh, shut it, nobody asked you. The sewers without turning around or slowing down. Naruto kept running until he jumped down into a lower pipe and ran through it. He soon found himself in a boiler room of some sort, where a number of Krauts were firing at him from elevated platforms. Naruto took aim and shot a shot of electricity at a soldier, catching him in the head as a demon head flew forward to take his heart, and he sent a demon arm forward to impale another, who was then flung into a third man, eliminating both. Naruto then proceeded to a large steel door, which was regrettably locked. No escape from my dream. After searching in vain for some sort of lever, Naruto discovered a ladder and started climbing it to a higher level, despite the attempts of other soldiers to stop him. Naruto simply laughed. Is this it? Can you do anything better than this? Oh, for fuck's sake, what is it with these people in sewers? Yelled Naruto, frustrated at the lack of a challenge, and entered a door in search of the way out of this nightmare. Okay, this is just pissing me off. With more lights shooting out, he found himself in a shadowed corridor with two possible directions to go. He chose to go left after spotting movement behind a door at the end of the hall, and when the door opened, two more Krauts appeared, alternating between firing at him and hiding behind the door frame. Naruto just sent his creeping dart to rip their throats and hearts out, and, lo and behold, there was another ladder. Naruto didn't even bother to complain, because at the top of the ladder was a thick door, which led to another door, which he burst through in the hopes of finding the outside. Why won't this end? Oh my god! Without stopping, Naruto ran up the stairs, taking down soldiers along the way. He ran through a small room that resembled an attic and eventually out into what could only be described as a monstrous environment. A massive train, covered in rust and blood, with a huge cannon on top that pointed toward the village's gates. War. Your gift. Your heritage. Your burden. With everything taken care of outside, Naruto sprinted towards the back of the train, firing lightning and shockwaves indiscriminately, hoping that some would actually hit their mark. After this, he jumped onto the small platform on the back of the train before bursting through yet another door, picking up his sword and putting away his guns, sending black energy flying as he ran around a room at the front of the train, ending up at the base of yet more stairs. This is just to piss me off, isn't it? I'm glad I live in an apartment. He discovered a door leading outside, which looked very out of place so far up. He passed through it and came to a metal walkway that ran along the side of the train. Hoping to reach his final flight of stairs, Naruto leapt down the hatch at the front of the train and entered the control room, where a limbless soldier was propped up on a crate in the corner, his skeletal face giving orders and insults in German, but it sounded like he didn't want Naruto to touch the controls. Tough luck, pal. Naruto approached and examined the control panel, which had a plethora of dials, levers, switches, and buttons. It seemed like a puzzle to find the correct one, so he decided to press a big, glowing red button in the middle of the panel in the hopes that it would be the one. Fortunately, it was, and the train began to move, turning to face the darkness castle in the opposite direction. Naruto fell into darkness as soon as he pressed the button. I fixed all of our broken heads. My test has been pounded by you. Oh, more dreaming. When Naruto woke up, he was covered in a white sheet. What the? He said, sitting up before the sheet fell to rest on his stomach. Oh shit. A morgue, he said, looking around at other people who were also covered in white sheets. I didn't realize I was dead. Regretfully, a med.nin decided to enter the room at that precise moment and saw Naruto's obviously living form. What the heck is going on? You were... Ah, before going unconscious, the med.nin let out a scream. For Kami's sake, is it really that shocking to see a deceased person move? Before he froze, Naruto said, okay, I guess it is. He had just witnessed one of the sheets move, so he got up and moved to the moving sheet, pulling back a bit to reveal Naru. Naruto felt worse than ever upon seeing Naru's body, which is not surprising given that he had just passed through, essentially, hell. He reached out to touch her but was stopped when a hand grabbed his wrist. His eyes widened upon realizing it was hers. He attempted to pull away but was unable to do so. Her eyes opened, staring directly at Naruto. She pulled on his arm and flipped them over, landing on top of him. She had an evil smile on her face as she looked down at him. Naru said softly, stretching out the suffix and sending chills down Naruto's spine. Well, hello, Naruto-kun. Well, it's been a while, huh? And Naru? However, you were dead, I noticed you. The irony is that I have no idea how I got back here. I'm in a void for a minute, and then these two yellow eyes that resemble yours appear. The darkness. Damn it. Are you able to do so now, boy? I back. I did make a few changes, although. A few changes? She's totally different. I would say she had the darkness. You didn't if I didn't know any better. Not completely. She has only a fraction of my power, not enough to manifest me. It will only increase the power she already possesses. But be happy, she seems to be acting on the thoughts she has had for a while, and making them even stronger, more impulsive. The darkness laughed. Damn you. Is something wrong, Naruto-kun? Aren't you glad to see me? 'Cause I sure am glad to see you. I must leave this place. After saying, fast, Naruto used it to create a cage Bunshin and Kawarimi. After completing that, Naruto bounded from the mortuary and made his way to the Hokage Tower. Upon realizing that Naru had defeated the clone, he experienced an ache in his chest. In an attempt to gather the chakra needed to execute the Shunshin, he began to run even faster. Naru emerged from around a corner in front of him, disrupting his focus. My goodness, she's quick. You wouldn't be trying to run away from me, would you, Naruto-kun? Ehehe. Not at all. Naruto backed away, trembling. Naru was about to seize him when Kakashi unexpectedly materialized in a smoke cloud, obstructing her way. Naruto. Naru, how the hell are you two still alive? It's the darkness, Kakashi, it won't allow me to die. And what about Naru? He brought her back, and made a few changes, as he puts it. Fuck. It seems you're in trouble, Naruto. You don't think I know that? Before noticing Naruto glaring at him and pointing pestilence at the cover of his priceless book, Kakashi remarked, Heh, this would make a good volume of Icha Icha. You wanna say that again? I think I'll pass. Good idea. Can you hold her off while I go see G.San? I'll try, but if she's anything like you. Before rushing away once more, Naruto remarked, if she's anything like me, you're screwed. Kakashi placed a hand on Naru's shoulder as she attempted to follow him. Kakashi said, now, where are you going? But had to duck before he could finish. A senbon that Naru had thrown at him became embedded in the wall behind him. Kakashi persisted in avoiding her blows, blocking when she could. Red and breathless, Naruto had reached the Hokage Tower in the meantime. Grasping Sarutobi's chest, he stormed into his office, scanning the area for his darkness-infused stalker. Naruto, you were dead. Yeah, I get that a lot. Now can we hurry this up? I have a stalker I'd like to stay away from. What is it you wanted? Well, I got sent to the otherworld, where I had to fight through an army of undead Germans and stairs to find my ancestor Anthony, who told me about the darkness, and then I had to aim a giant train cannon at a castle. Now I'm back and Naru is alive again because the darkness brought her back and changed her, so she's kinda impulsive and forward, you could say. Right. Well, I'm not quite sure what to say. Oh, you don't have to say anything, I just wanted to tell someone. Was the wave mission a success? Yes, but I'm afraid you'll have to wait for your pay. We need for them to actually be able to pay for the mission first. Right. Any news? Well, the Chunin exams are coming up, and Kakashi nominated your squad for them. Naruto grumbled, oh crap, 5 days in a forest with Naru. I'm so gonna get raped. When Sarutobi realized who he was speaking to, he abruptly stopped laughing at the blonde boy's problems. Well, if that's all, I'll be leaving. I need to Naru. Proof my apartment. After 2 days, there was a knock on Naruto's door, waking him up. He was, to put it mildly, paranoid after having to flee Naru for 2 days. With caution, he rose and picked up his sword, making his way to the door. He opened his door and saw Haku instead of Naru. The fact that she was returning to Konoha had completely slipped his mind. She yelled, Naruto, and tackled him. You had me worried, they said you were dead. Well, I kind of was, but I don't think I'll tell her that. Euro. Sorry for worrying you, she seems freaked out already. Naru appeared in the hallway and exclaimed, oh Naruto. Kun. Who's this? Haku. What are you doing here? Shit. I'm here to see Naruto-kun, what does it look like? It sure looks like you're trying to rape him, which is what you'd be doing if you were in this situation, Neru, said Naruto. Details. Anyway, Kakashi sent me to find you. We have to go apply for the Chunin exams. Damn you, Kakashi. Haku, you mind coming with? I'd rather not be left alone with her. Naru jumped on top of him and said, Naruto-kun, you scared of me? You know I only want to make you happy? Hey, back off, he obviously doesn't want you. And he wants you, Frosty? I don't think so. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm much more desirable than you, oh yeah? Yeah. Shunshin-ing out of the apartment and into the ninja academy, right next to Sasuke and Sakura, Naruto said, fuck this, I'm leaving. This effectively scared the living daylights out of them. Are we ready then? Whatever. I'm ready if Sasuke-kun is. But where's Naru? As they made their way to the stairs, Naruto remarked, I don't want to know. Probably still fighting with Haku. Naru was present at the top of the stairs, in addition to 2 Chunin dressed as genin who were preventing everyone from entering the incorrect room. How the fuck do you get around so fast? For some reason I feel enhanced, better than I did before. I have no clue as to why, though. Naruto told the others, yeah, and best you never do. Now, come on. This is the wrong floor. Don't tell them that though, we want to narrow down the competition. Sasuke yelled at the Chunin, but Naruto's words were ignored. Hey, why don't you go ahead and release the genjutsu? It's so damn obvious anyone could notice it. Naruto grimaced. This is the second floor, not the third. Sasuke, you idiot. I told you we want to narrow down the competition. That means don't tell them, fucktard. Don't insult me, Dobi. I'll insult you if I want to, fucktard. Don't insult my Sasuke-kun, Baka. Don't insult my Naruto-kun, Teme. Naruto walked off up the stairs, saying, once again, fuck this, I'm leaving. He entered a large room full of genin of all shapes and sizes after passing through the double doors at the end of the hallway. Naruto let out a startled whistle. Wow, that's a lot of people who probably hate me. Hinata was standing there, prodding her fingers together, when Naruto turned around and asked, Naruto-kun, where's the rest of your team? Oh, they're downstairs, bickering. I gave up, left them alone. Standing next to Hinata, Kiba questioned, so, Naruto, gotten any stronger? Naruto directed the second part at the silver-haired genin that had appeared next to them, saying, Ahehe, I guess you could say that. So, who are you? My name is Kabuto Yakushi. I'm a leaf genin, like you. If I were you, I'd quiet down. Dude, we're being pretty quiet. Shit. Well, anyway, if you need any info on your competition, just ask me. I'll do what I can to help with my ninja info cards. When Sasuke, Sakura, and Naru appeared, Naruto exclaimed, rewrite. Geez, finally guys. What took you so long? Nothing. A gruff voice ran through the room. Okay, maggots. Quiet down. It's time for the written test. Everyone turned to see a group of chunin holding clipboards in front of a certain Anbu interrogation specialist. Naruto went up, took his number, and sat down next to Hinata. Everyone take a number and sit in the seat of that number. As he looked around, he noticed that Kabuto's team, Team Guy, the other rookie 10 members, and a few other less amiable characters were scattered throughout the space. Now, there are 10 questions in this test. The test is scored on a point reduction system, so you start with the maximum of 10 points, and get a point taken away for every incorrect or incomplete answer. If you are caught cheating, 2 points will be subtracted from your overall score. 5 accounts of cheating means you fail, along with your team mates. If your score is reduced to 0, or you answer all of the questions incorrectly, you and your team will fail. With that said, begin. Naruto read through each question on his test while looking down at it. These are far too complex for a genin to answer. I anticipate that only a select few, such as the proctor and the chunin, could do so. What do you think, Darkness? I'm not a being as old as time for nothing, you know. Just look at a question and I'll give you the answer. You're being incredibly kind. Of course, if you pass this you get to go to the Forest of Death with Neru. First question, a jerk. 4. The second query. Option C, third question. Shuriken. The next 6 questions went on like this until Ibiki yelled at the class. Okay, maggots. 15 minutes left, time for the 10th question. However, there are more rules for this one. If you choose not to take the question, you and your team mates will fail and you will have to leave. However, if you do take it, and answer incorrectly, you will lose the chance of ever becoming a chunin. You will be a genin for the rest of your life. A few of them gasped, a few shouted at him, and everyone's eyes widened. Naruto merely sat there giggling to himself. Students, they ought to understand that even he lacks that level of authority. A lot of people left the room, including their teams. Observing the chunin's nods, Ibiki muttered, it doesn't look like anyone else is leaving. Well then, this is the 10th question. Do you want to pass this test? Yes? Congratulations, you pass. Well, that wasn't very exciting. A ball of cloth flew through one of the windows lining one side of the room, interrupting the thoughts of the room. Oh well, if it gets me closer to being a chunin, so be it. Unfolding the cloth to reveal a banner with a woman in a trench coat standing in front of it. 2 kunai flew from inside the ball of cloth and into the room's upper corners. She wore an extremely short skirt, a fishnet shirt that covered her impressive bust, and her spiky purple hair pulled back in a ponytail. Okay, I'm the proctor for the second exam, Anko Mitarashi. Those of you who passed follow. Ibiki, how many did you let pass? We've got an exceptional batch this year round, Anko. It's not my fault, they passed on their own. Anko yelled, yeah right. Well, anyway, follow me to training ground 44, and leapt out of the window again. Ibiki whispered, something tells me this can't end well. The Forest of Death, training ground 44. Welcome to training ground 44, or as I like to call it, the Forest of Death. Naruto sneered at the forest and remarked, the Forest of Death? Are you shitting me? This isn't scary, it's a freaking kid's playground. As a trickle of blood trickled down Naruto's cheek, Anko appeared behind him and remarked, "Oh, tough guy, huh? Niece, those are the kind that leave their blood all over the place." Anko's tongue, which was longer than usual, started to lick the blood from his cheek but stopped. Her chest was being sniffed. She discovered one of Naruto's demon heads, its muzzle wedged in her cleavage, when she looked down. Naruto smiled and said, "What's the matter, Anko-chan? Something wrong?" Anko whispered sultrily into his ear, "Oh, nothing's wrong, Blondie. I just didn't think you were this forward." Naruto said as he made his way to the gates, "Well, no matter how much I'd like to continue this, I have an exam to pass. I already know how this works. Everyone gets a scroll, either heaven or earth. To pass, you have to get the other half of the set and reach the tower in the center before the 5-day deadline expires. Since everyone else knows now, can we get on with it?" Naruto's team obtained a heaven scroll and proceeded to stand at their gate. "All right, everyone go to the booth, sign your forms and get your scroll. Then head to the gate you will be assigned." After a few minutes, the gates were unlocked and a loud beep was heard. In an attempt to complete this test as soon as possible, every ninja who was stationed throughout the forest hurried in. The second test was underway. Within the Death Forest, Squad 7 searched for another Genin squad while flying through the trees. After landing in a deserted clearing, they surveyed their surroundings. More than the typical human could see, a pair of yellow eyes scanned the clearing. After flying into a bush, a demon arm extracted an aim Genin and impaled it through the head. The corpse fell to the grass as the tentacle trembled. "Damn, this one doesn't have a scroll either. How many people do I have to kill to get a damn scroll?" "Oh, shut up, Dobi. Like you're even capable of getting a scroll." Sasuke merely snarled and turned away, saying, "So, you're blind as well as stupid." Naru approached Naruto while gazing into the woods. "Naruto-kun, something's out there. Something too powerful to be a Genin." "I know, I sense it too. 2 of them, in fact." 2. The Suna Genin, Sabaku no Gaara. His bloodlust is practically palpable. But the other one is closer, and getting closer all the time. It's heading this way. "What is it?" Naruto remarked, "I'm not sure, but it smells like snake." There was a certain Kusa-kunoichi racing through the thick forest in pursuit of her victim. "Where are you?" Sasuke-kun. The Avenger with the raven hair sneeze. Naruto addressed the other members of the group, saying, "Can we get going already? I want to finish this test as soon as possible." After they all nodded, Squad 7 resumed its mission. After an hour, Squad 8. As Hinata hurried through the woods with her teammates Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru, she wondered how Naruto-kun was doing. As if something was frightening him, she turned to see Akamaru hiding in Kiba's jacket. Turning on her Byakugan, Hinata scanned the area, trying to find the cause of the dog's fear. Sadly, she discovered it. "Kiba, Shino, there's someone up ahead, and they have a lot of chakra." Moving quickly to get to the mystery chakra, Kiba remarked, "Hopefully they won't know how to use it." With his mouth seemingly frozen in place, Shino uttered, "Knowing our luck, they will." They discovered a clearing that was distinct from the one that Squad 7 was in. They discovered a group of aim.nin hiding in a bush, battling the Sand siblings. Kankuro questioned his younger brother, "Come on, Gaara. Why do we have to fight them? We already have the scroll, so we should just get to the tower." Everyone in the clearing, including the 3-leaf.nin, flinched when he said, "They looked at me the wrong way." Tamari begged, "Please, let's just go. Do it for your Chan, yeah?" The fan user and puppet master took a step back, unwilling to interfere with the desert's fury, saying, "HMPH, too bad I don't think of you as my siblings. If you don't want to get involved, leave. Get off my back." One of the aim.nin told his teammate, Shigur, I think we should get out of here, like, now." "Good idea." Gaara held his arm in front of him and held his hand out in front of him, saying without emotion, "Too late. Your time is now." Sabaku Q. Shigur and his companions were encased in the merciless embrace of the desert coffin in a flurry of sand, prepared to be crushed and join that which makes their grave. Shigur begged, "No, please." Gaara closed his palm and yelled, "Sabaku Susu," as blood splattered everywhere. Stunned and afraid, the 3 Konoha.nin did not move. As he gestured for his siblings to follow, the Sand Jinchuriki said, That wasn't fun at all. Come on then, let's finish this." As the 3 of them departed, the bloodlust that had been engulfing the area subsided. Squad 8 collapsed, choking and coughing. When he was able to stand again, Kiba remarked, "Phew, I'd hate to be the guy who faces him in a battle." A boy wearing green spandex sneezes halfway through the forest, and his two teammates stare at him in shock. Lee never becomes ill. Squad 7 is back. Naruto asked, "Who the hell are you?" as she glared at the assailant, her face peeling off to reveal a yellow snake. Like eye and a pale, skinned brow with purple markings. The snake Sanin hurried forward after saying, "Remember that my name is Orochimaru. It will be the last name you ever hear." Naruto barely escaped the kunai that was aiming for his stomach as he leapt backwards. His sword materialized in his hand, and he dodged several more blows from the pale ninja. Shouting the name of his attack, he swung it in a broad arc. Kuro Yeba. Orochimaru's chest was struck by the now familiar wave of darkness as it rushed towards him. It knocked over a tree by pushing him back through and into it. His body turned to mud as he collided with another tree. "Shit, Tsuchi Bunshin. You are strong, child. Tell me your name." Copying the exiled Sanin, Naruto responded, "Naruto Uzumaki Estacado. Remember it, for it shall be the last name you ever hear." Estacado? So, you have the darkness. You would be perfect for a curse seal, along with the Uchiha boy. Curse mark. Stop talking nonsense already, Naruto yelled, hurling a couple demon arms at him. With his snakes in retaliation, Orochimaru's attacks neutralized one another. With a growl, Naruto charged at him, sword out. Naruto was thrown into a tree by Orochimaru using a snake, and his body reacted a little to the impact. After drawing his Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the snake master hurled it at Naruto, impaling and pinning him to the tree. Orochimaru disappeared and then resurfaced next to Naruto on a branch. He sank his teeth into Naruto's neck and declared, "Now, you will become my puppet." As the snake summoner attempted to overwhelm the Kyuubi's healing factor by pumping his venom into Naruto's body, he let out a painful scream. Orochimaru eventually prevailed in the fight and extracted his teeth from the boy's neck, leaving a few blood splatters on his shoulder. Just above the bite were 3 black marks that pulsed with purple chakra and had the shape of wheels with spikes sticking out from the edge. Orochimaru muttered, "Good, you've survived this long at least. Now, to get you Uchiha friend," and then leapt to locate Sasuke. No time for sleeping. A nondescript tree called the Forest of Death. "Come on, Sasuke-kun. Wake up. Please?" Sakura begged, using the unconscious form of the Uchiha heir. His body was practically steaming from a fever. Like the third form of the Sharingan, a strange 3. Tomo mark pulsed on his neck, spreading and then receding at different points. Sakura was only concerned with her beloved Sasuke-kun and didn't care that Naruto and Neru were nowhere to be seen. Behind her, she heard a twig snap, but ignored it, until a voice followed it, that is. "Hey, Pinky. Wake up Sasuke, we want to play. The sewer, scape." Kyuubi heard a terrible hiss coming from the tunnel, and his fur stood on end. He saw white scales moving between the shadows, growling as the hissing got closer, and his crimson eyes narrowed. He roared, unnerved by the new presence in Naruto's mind, "Who's there? Show yourself." As it approached the cage's golden bars, the thing hissed, "So, you're the Kyuubi no Yuko. How nice to finally meet you." When it got to the bars, it backed up to get a better look at the fox's eyes. Long black hair cascaded around the eyes of a pair of yellow, slitted eyes that gazed into the Biju's face. Orochimaru. "Ah, so my reputation precedes me. Why, or how, are you here?" "Through the curse seal I placed on the boy, my dear Kitsune, and as for why, well, this child's abilities would be most useful in my quest." "You mean your obsessive search for power, the Sharingan and eternal life?" "But of course. And with the 2 boys I sealed earlier, at least 2 parts of that goal will be fulfilled." "I'm guessing you mean the Uchiha. You can keep him, never liked him." The darkness said from a corner of the room, "I agree. Now, if you don't mind, I have to kill you. This seal is, effectively, a wound. And it's my job to heal wounds." The immortal creature growled as he poked a tentacle into the Kyuubi's neck, sending the fox into a deep sleep. "Hold on a minute, Kyuubi. Just sleep. Now, Snake. I have a proposition for you." "Do continue." "A forest clearing. Well, I could take him right now, but should I? Or should I hold off until it's more lovely?" As she stared at the blonde boy lying a few feet away from her, one girl thought. She noticed a tiny mark on his neck and a tiny amount of purple steam coming from his body while she was observing him. "What is that thing? Huh? Someone is going to die if it's some sort of strange hickey." Her thoughts were interrupted when the blonde boy mentioned earlier sat up and gripped his neck while more purple steam erupted. In a demonic voice, Naruto roared, "Where is he? Where is he?" Without showing any signs of fear, Naru questioned, "Who?" Naruto told her, "Orochimaru. Need to stop him," as he calmed down. "Well, we'll find him later. Right now we gotta find Sasuke and Sakura." Naru laughed when Naruto said, "Do we have to? You don't know how much I'd like to just leave them behind and have you all to myself, but if we don't bring them, we don't pass. So let's get going. If we have to." Returning with Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke was still unconscious, the same purple steam rising from his body, and Sakura was being practically beaten to a pulp by the three Genin. "Dosu, this is boring. Just finish her already," the black-haired nin told his bandaged comrade. Dosu responded, "Be patient, Zaku. She will die eventually," before moving on to the kunoichi with the pink hair. But a shout and an odd green blur stopped him before he could go any farther. Konoha Senpu. The flying blur kicked the three sound ninja with such force that they were knocked back. When it finally stopped moving, a boy with a bowl cut and big eyebrows was visible, dressed in a green spandex jumpsuit. When the sound ninja saw who had knocked them back, they started to perspire. "Who are you?" More perspiration. "My name is Rock Lee, the green beast of the leaf." "Right, why don't you just run along? Wouldn't want you to get hurt, yet." "I am afraid I can't do that. A fellow leaf ninja is in danger, and it is my duty to aid them." Before charging forward with his metal gauntlet ready to beat Lee, the bandaged genin told the newcomer, "Well then, it looks like we'll have to go through you to get to Sasuke." "Fair enough." Lee yelled, "Nice try, Konoha Senpu," before vanishing into a blur once more, but when Dosu's gauntlet made a high-pitched noise, Lee lost his balance and fell to the ground, throwing him off course. "Like my little gadget. You see, this little device practically gives me control over you through your ears. Your taijutsu is no match for our specialized ninjutsu." Suddenly, a voice asked, "How well does it work against Kekkei Genkai?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, if someone were to use a Kekkei Genkai that allowed them to attack from somewhere you couldn't see, would it work?" "Well no, but..." Before the black demon arms flooded the clearing, aiming for the nin, the voice said, "That's all I needed to know." They discovered that there were too many to avoid. Tentacles covered nearly every inch of their bodies as they were impaled. After gathering their hearts and emerging from the shadows, Naruto turned to face Lee. "Are you okay?" Lee said, "Yes, for I am a truly splendid ninja," while displaying odd, glittering teeth on his thumb. After shedding a few tears, Naruto turned to face Sasuke. His body was obscured by a cloud formed by the thickening steam. Naruto prepared his demon arms after sensing a malicious chakra forming inside the cloud. He deflected a blue blur that was flying in his direction with a tentacle. When the blur subsided, Sasuke was visible, his form swirling with purple chakra and black marks resembling flames covering the left side of his body. "Fight me, Dobi. As much as I want to, I'm afraid I can't. Now's not the time." Sasuke roared and rushed in his direction, saying, "I said, fight me." Naruto punched Sasuke in the stomach after grabbing the fist he threw at him and pushing it aside. The insane Avenger crashed into a tree in reverse. "We fought before, Sasuke. You lost then, you'll lose now if you continue." Sasuke snarled and leapt forward once more, saying, "But things have changed, Dobi. I've gotten much stronger." Grabbing his neck, Naruto raised him into the air. Naruto held up one of his darkness guns and remarked, "So have I." He launched Sasuke through multiple trees after sending a shockwave into his chest. Naruto simply materialized at his side with a gun aimed at his head as he attempted to stand again. "Stay down, Teme. Don't make me kill you." The black marks on Sasuke's neck faded into the 3 Tomo marks as he relaxed. "Fine, let's just get to the tower. That is, if we have the necessary scrolls." Naru emerged from the trees and said, "Yep, I got them while you were unconscious, so you didn't have to worry." Naruto looked out into the forest and said, "Then let's go. We need to get out of here, now. Lee, will you be alright getting back to your team?" Another voice said, "He won't need to." Neji Hyuga's voice as he and his teammate Tenten stood in the tree. "So be it. Go, Central Tower, Forest of Death." "So, what now?" inquired Naruto. Naru replied, "Maybe we should open the scrolls now." "You can do it, I don't want anything to do with them," Sasuke replied. Naruto grabbed the scrolls and opened them, saying, "Pussy, give him here." Naruto muttered, examining the kanji on the scrolls. A person?" He threw the scrolls on the floor in front of him as his eyes grew wide. "Get back." When a huge cloud of smoke erupted from the scrolls, everyone flinched back. As the smoke gradually cleared, Kakashi was visible. "Hi, How's it going? Kakashi. Sensei, did we pass? As he walked through a set of double doors, Kakashi declared with an eye. Smile, indeed you did. Congratulations. Now, if you please, follow me to the arena. Following him, the genin entered a spacious chamber featuring 2 balconies and a sizable statue of a Hitsuji hand seal. Before the Hokage, Ibiki, Anko, and a few other Junin, the other teams stood in the center of the room. Squad 7 waited for the Hokage to speak before joining the ninja group. Congratulations for passing the second part of these Chunin selection exams. Let's see. There are 6 teams left, which means 18 genin in total. Gecko.san, if you would. A man in typical Junin clothing, with a bandana as his hide.8, said, yes, Hokage. Sama, and moved forward. The genin began yelling, irritated that after going through all of that, they still had to fight more. My name is Hayate Gecko, and I'm the proctor for the 3rd exam. We're going to have to hold a round of preliminaries matches before the 3rd test, because the first 2 may have been too easy. If anyone feels they cannot fight any longer, please speak up. Those people will have to leave the exam and will thereby fail. It appears that I will not be able to give up this time, Orochimaru. Sama. The thought crossed the mind of one silver-haired genin. What with those 3 dead? I suppose it can't be helped. The Hokage nodded when Hayate said, no one's quitting then. Good, that means we have even numbers. So, shall we begin the matches? Reveal the board. Behind one of the wall panels, a huge computer screen emerged, scrolling through the genin's names. It landed on 2 at last. Okay, the first match will be. First match, Uchiha Sasuke vs Akato Yoroi. Yoroi sarcastically remarked, hey, I get to test my strength against the Rookie of the Year and Uchiha heir. What an honor. Under his breath, Sasuke said, an honor is right, Bo, worthless dog. Hayate exclaimed, Hajime. As Yoroi threw multiple shuriken from his hip pouch and Sasuke reached into his holster to retrieve a kunai, which he then threw at Yoroi. In the air, the steel ninja weapons clashed and neutralized one another. When Sasuke saw that his opponent's right hand was glowing blue with chakra, a flash of pain from the seal on his neck distracted him, and he soon found himself face first on the ground. Yoroi was nowhere to be seen when he looked up. He discovered him standing above him, his chakra-powered fist rushing in his direction. To stop himself, the Avenger leapt aside and stabbed another kunai into the ground. He turned on the kunai and wrapped his legs around Yoroi's, causing him to topple over. Sasuke was struck in the chest by the back of his arm after the masked ninja landed on his legs. Sasuke put his arms around Yoroi's chest and his legs around his neck. Sasuke grinned and said, hey, gotcha. With his own smirk concealed behind his cloth mask, Yoroi questioned, oh really? His hand glowed with chakra again, and he turned his arm to grasp Sasuke's shirt collar. Sasuke felt his strength being drained, and his eyes grew wide. What's going on? With Yoroi's arm escaping his now pitiful hold, Sasuke pondered. Yoroi's muscular body leapt away as the arm slammed back down into Sasuke's chest, causing him to cough. All of my strength just vanished. Yoroi charged forward, his fist blazing again. In an attempt to land a few blows before his opponent caught him again, Sasuke sat up. However, Yoroi's hand clasped his head and started draining his strength more quickly than before, so it was in vain. The arms of Sasuke weakened at his sides. What the? My chakra, what are you doing? Yoroi's cheeks rose noticeably behind his mask as he asked, you're just noticing it now? The arena reverberated with Sasuke's screams of agony. Sasuke's cries turned to wild laughter, and Yoroi's smirk vanished as his hand began to burn. His face and neck were covered in flame, like marks, and his body was encircled by a purple chakra. Yoroi's eyes widened in shock as he pulled his hand away and leapt away. What's going on? As the curse seal spread over his body, Sasuke roared, his voice turning demonic. This is my power, he said. He charged ahead, slamming his fist into Yoroi's abdomen and launching him against a wall. When Sasuke appeared next to Yoroi and threw him across the room, Yoroi stopped struggling to break free from the stone wall. Sasuke was crouching on the stone tiles, and Yoroi was getting back up, looking very bruised. He vanished in a blur of sheer speed, surrounded by a purple chakra. When Sasuke's foot struck Yoroi's chin and launched him into the air, he had no time to look around before Sasuke followed with the Kage Buyo, shadow of the dancing leaf. This is a privilege. You will go to hell knowing that my all-powerful hand killed you. Sasuke kicked Yoroi in the left side. When the hit collided, the masked ninja heard something break, but he blocked it. Yoroi was unable to stop the Uchiha as it spun once more, aiming for the opposite side. He sent him flying to the ground after punching him in the chest. Sasuke spun again, seizing Yoroi's stomach as he did so. "Come back here, I'm not finished destroying you yet," he said. His opponent screamed in agony as he crashed through the tiles after his last kick landed just before he hit the ground. Sasuke let out a savage roar before yelling the name of his attack as his cursed power struck Yoroi with full force. Norova Rita Ryan no Akari, Rage of the Cursed Lion. A massive dust cloud created by the crash obscured the collision from the onlooker's view. A few people's eyes widened when the dust finally settled and they saw Sasuke standing over Yoroi's motionless body, the marks on his neck fading back into the original. With a slight smirk on his face, the boy just walked away from his fallen enemy. As the medic. Nin hurried forward to assist Yoroi, Hayate declared, "The winner is Uchiha Sasuke." As the board began to spin once more, he asked, "Can we now pick the next two fighters?" When the Avenger with the raven hair returned to the balcony, Naruto said, "Teme, what happened? You went crazy." "I needed more power. I got it. You almost killed the guy. Now, while I'm all for killing people, it's my job. You just keep fighting like a kid, okay? Don't treat me like an inferior, Dobi. I'm far stronger than you." The boy growled in annoyance as Naruto said, "You forget. I was stronger than you before, then we both got the same power. That means I'm still stronger." Sasuke turned back to the arena and said, "Whatever. The match is over." "Who was it?" "Oh, Sakura and Ino. Nothing special then. Probably just loads of flashbacks." "Who's the next one?" Naruto resumed their routine conversation and said, Tenten and Tamari. "So, anyway, what should we have for lunch?" After some time, Tenten was defeated by Tamari, Masumi by Kankuro, Shoji by Kabuto, Shino by someone, Hinata by Neji, and Lee by Gaara. And, I might add, brutally. Thus, Neru, Kiba, Shikamaru, and I are the only ones remaining. Would you please let me kill Kiba, Kami? As he watched the board spin, Naruto pondered. When it eventually stopped, Naruto grinned at the result. Would Nara Shikamaru and Ramano Neru please come down to the arena? Good luck, Neru. You'll need it with his brain. Thanks Naruto.kun. When I win, maybe we can go somewhere private to celebrate. Maybe. Just get down there. Neru leapt over the railing and landed in front of Nara, who was being lazy. Can we get this over with? I'd rather be playing shogi. Neru said, yeah, just let me pummel you, then you can go back to your game. Then, with a senbon in hand, he charged forward, but she discovered that she was immobile. Her shadow was connected to Shikamaru's when she looked down. The girl with the dark hair imitated his hand as he raised it. There must be a way out of this, don't you think? Neru closed her eyes and concentrated on an inner force that had lain dormant since her resurrection. The darkness's power. She concentrated on it so intently that she started to perspire. She finally understood. When her eyes opened again, a yellow iris surrounded an otherwise flawless eye. Shikamaru quickly discovered that he had lost control over her behavior. She was actually in charge of his. Shikamaru imitated her hand reaching down to her kunai holster. The boy realized what she was doing at that moment. Neru had a left-handed hand. He wasn't. With the intention of winning and impressing the blonde object of her affection, she drew a kunai while he simply grabbed nothing and hurled the pointed weapon at her opponent. Thinking quickly, Shikamaru rolled out of the way and broke contact. Then he looked around the room hoping to find anything that might be used against her. A smirk crept onto his face as his gaze settled on the shadows beneath the balconies. When he made a strange hand gesture, Neru felt a number of people behind her. Several black tentacles were sticking out of the shadows under the balcony when she turned. When she saw how similar this was to Naruto's darkness, her eyes widened. At the Nara's attack, even Naruto arched an eyebrow. Neru raised her hand in surrender, realizing she could not defend against this attack, which she already knew was coming. Ramano Neru surrenders. Nara Shikamaru wins by default. Neru-chan, you did well, Naruto thought aloud. When Naruto reached the top of the metal staircase, Neru jumped on her, and the two ninja made their way back to the balcony. Guess I won't be in the finals, huh Naruto.kun? Naruto pushed the girl away from him and said, yeah, I guess. Could you get off me? I need to speak to someone. Hey, Shikamaru. Can I speak to you for a sec? Sure, whatever. Just wondering, how do you know that technique? I thought it was particular to my bloodline. With a knowing smirk on his normally bored face, Shikamaru remarked, Your father and mine were good friends, Naruto. And it helped that they had similar abilities. My father, huh? So you know? Whispering the second part, he said, it wasn't hard, Namikaze. Naruto grumbled, I keep telling everybody, don't forget the estacado. Which caused Shikamaru to laugh. But when he saw the board, he stopped. He pointed to the board and said, you better get down there, wouldn't want to miss this, would you? Naruto yelled, hells yes, dog. Boys going down, and leapt over the railing. Over the years, he had become more composed and aloof, but occasionally his typical cheerful manner would return. With Akamaru already standing next to him, he turned to face Kiba. You ready to lose, Dobi? As ready as you are to wear ribbons in your hair, mutt. Final match, Inuzuka Kiba vs Uzumaki Estacado Naruto. Finally, someone gets my name right. Hajime. Kiba hurried over to Naruto while flinging a pill at Akamaru, his partner. A cloud of smoke engulfed the little dog, turning its white fur red, and then dissipated to reveal another Kiba. Naruto closed his eyes and said calmly, ah yes, the Jujin Bunshin no Jutsu, it won't help you. Oh yeah? Gatsuga, Kiba roared, launching himself into the most potent attack of his clan. Naruto just reached for his belt and drew his darkness guns as the two tornadoes flew in his direction. Naruto aimed his weapons at the center of the attack, between the two tornadoes, after observing Kiba and Akamaru start to spin around one another to maximize damage. Before firing both guns, he uttered the words, Yamaten. Kurai Daburu Tama. The lightning and shockwave combined to form a massive ball of white lightning. The center of Kiba's attack was struck by the lightning ball, which exploded and sent him and Akamaru flying in opposite directions across the room. With a demon arm, Naruto seized Akamaru and approached Kiba, holding a gun to his head. I'll let you surrender if, whisper. Hell no. Naruto demonstrated his point by slightly squeezing the trigger. Fine. I'd just like to let everyone know that I suck. And that I'm a girl, what else? Reluctantly, Kiba concluded, and I like ribbons in my hair, and I want to kiss all the boys. This might be the greatest surrender ever, Naruto laughed. In between chuckles, Hayate declared, winner, Uzumaki Estacado Naruto. Sarutobi, who was also laughing, moved forward and spoke to the other genin. He held up a small wooden box with a hole in the top and said, now, the rest of you will be proceeding to the third phase of the exam, so please take a slip of paper from the box. The Hokage handed the box to a chunin at random after everyone had taken one. Now that you all have one, please open it and tell us your number, so the final round's match.ups can be finalized. Tamari said, 7. Neji said, 2. Kankuro said, 5. Shikamaru said, 8. Gaara said, 3. Naruto said, 1. Shino said, 6. Kabuto, 9. And that means Sasuke will be number 4. With that done, the final rounds will look like this, Sarutobi stated, displaying a sheet of paper. First round. Hyuga Neji vs Uzumaki Estacado Naruto. Round 2. Uchiha Sasuke vs Sabaku no Gaara. Aburame Shino vs Kankuro in round 3. Yakushi Kabuto vs Nara Shikamaru in round 4. Round 5. Tamari vs the winner of round 4. Before vanishing in a whirlpool of leaves, the Hokage said, now that the final rounds are finalized, you have 1 month to prepare for the tournament. Use this time wisely, hone your skills, learn new abilities, train yourself in any way possible to defeat your opponent. Now, go. The other Junin followed suit. 1 month? Lots of time. I'm sending that arena to hell, so I hope it has insurance. Seek out the shadows, feel them, collect them, and let go. As he raised his hand with a ball of shadows condensing in the middle, Naruto yelled in his mind. Naruto was sent through multiple trees by the exploding ball before stopping beside a rock. How can this technique be so difficult to master, I wonder? Be patient, Naruto. It won't work overnight. Yeah, but I wish it would. Why in the world are you laughing? Naruto pondered as he surveyed his landing spot. He moved toward the disembodied laughter and discovered a big toad with what appeared to be a lot of spiky white hair on top standing in front of a window into the women's bathhouse. Naruto was beginning to become perplexed by the enormous hairball's occasional perverse giggles and movements. When he approached the toad's side, he discovered that the hairball was actually an elderly man who was looking into the baths. Naruto chuckled to himself. The man turned around and held a notepad and pen in his hands. If you want to peek, old man, do it with style. So no. One will catch you and you'll be that much more cool and mysterious. Huh? Go away, kid, I'm busy researching. Oh, so that's what that is. I wondered if you were just peeping, old man. Old man? Do you know who I am? No, the man broke out in perspiration. I'm the great and awesome Jiraiya, the Toad Sannin, teacher of the 4th Hokage and head summoner of the Toads. And don't forget a pervert. Then Naruto exclaimed, I'm no pervert, I'm a super pervert, under his breath. Jiraiya's face went white as he said, Right. Anyway, I gotta get back to training. The darkness is a slave driver and Foxy isn't being much help. With his face growing paler by the moment, he questioned, Did you say the D darkness? Yeah, it's my bloodline. Wait, you said you were the 4th sensei. Oh shit. Naruto? Not so loud, I have bad enough hearing thanks to Sakura. But the council said you were dead after the Kyuubi attack, how are you here? Sounds like you've been punked, dude. Why didn't Sarutobi sensei tell me? You're asking me, how should I know? I don't know, what the hell is going on? Well, I told you to peek with more style. Not that. I mean, why and how are you here? Before rushing into the forest, Naruto remarked, I have a right because I live in this village. Now, if you'll pardon me, I have to go train to destroy Neji. As she vanished in a cloud of smoke, Jiraiya thought, I need to talk to Sarutobi sensei about this, now. Tower of Hokage. What transgression have I committed to warrant all of this documentation? Sarutobi moaned as his secretary brought in another pile after giving it some thought. He ducked as the doors flew off their hinges, smashing the windows as they went out, warning him that something very, very bad was about to happen. He turned to see a vengeful Jiraiya standing in the wrecked doorway. He roared much louder than was necessary, asking, Why didn't you tell me Minato's son was alive? You met Naruto, huh? And then some. I made my decision to protect him from those like the members of the civilian council and the villagers. Protect him? If everyone had known, he wouldn't have been treated as bad as I assume he was. How can you be so sure? I expect some people would still blame him. The council would try to arrange marriages in order to get his power on their side. And Danzo would up his efforts in regards to recruiting Naruto into Root. But, I suppose it doesn't matter now. Jiraiya calmed down and asked, What do you mean? Sarutobi told him, You shouted so loud the whole village will have heard you, while you was sweating. Is Naruto going to kill me? It's highly likely. If I were you, I'd run. Jiraiya. A booming roar sounded from the distance. Now, fearing Naruto's wrath, Jiraiya ran out of the office. He saw the blonde Jinchuriki himself as he ran directly out of the tower and into the street. How fucking loud do you need to be, dipshit? I heard you from the other side of the village. Look, Naruto, no more fucking excuses. Everyone in the village heard you, now they all know my secret. Why do you keep it a secret anyway? Surely the old man told you. About the council, the villagers, Danzo. Okay, I get it. Look, maybe I can make it up to you. How could you possibly make it up to me? Jiraiya said, by teaching you to summon, causing Naruto's face to light up with delight. After a couple of hours, gazing at the massive scroll in front of him, Naruto questioned, So, this is a summoning contract? With pride, Jiraiya answered, Yes, this is the contract for the Toad summons. I don't want it. What? I don't particularly like frogs or toads, can y'all give me something darker? This is the only one I have, great. From the back of Naruto's mind, the darkness uttered, Oh Naruto, why don't you take my contract? With it you will be able to summon physical manifestations of darkness. Like what? Oh, many things. But there will be time for that later. Now, just use my power, and the creeping dark shall give you my scroll. Naruto disconnected from the mental connection and turned to glance at the scroll on the floor. Shaking his head, he brought forth the darkness, the now recognizable dark limbs emerging from his dark body. A black scroll with a yellow band around each end was visible when one of the creeping dark jerked its head forward and parted its lips. Biting his thumb, Naruto accepted the scroll and opened it. Seeing that the names of several other people appeared on the scroll before his own, he signed his name in the first slot. Jiraiya did nothing but watch the precious liquid spill onto the scroll's rough surface. After that, Naruto made a few hand signs and placed his blood-soaked thumb on the open palm of his other hand. As Naruto ran through hand seals, he thought, pig, dog, rooster, monkey, sheep, and then slammed a palm down on the ground. He called out the name of his jutsu before he was obscured by a smoke cloud. Kachiyose no Jutsu. When the cloud of smoke cleared, Naruto was visible, surrounded by a number of creatures. Around his head flew a strange insect-like creature, resembling the creeping dark, with a large mouth and 4 small black wings. A somewhat humanoid creature squatted on the ground, sniffing the surroundings with its gray muzzle. Behind Naruto, Another humanoid stood, its red eyes staring around lifelessly as its black body absorbed all the light. The fourth and last creature appeared to have no form at all. It was merely a formless mass of shadow that moved continuously while its yellow eyes gazed aimlessly. Naruto smiled as he observed his new summon's blatantly inhuman appearances. Naruto asked the white-haired Sannin, who had his jaw on the ground and was staring at the creatures, "So, old man, how'd I do?" To be honest, I don't know." "Well, that's no help. I want to know if I can actually summon now." "Indeed you can," a quiet voice behind him replied. "You have control of the darkness summoning contract and all its inhabitants, though some may be reluctant to serve. They have issues with authority." "Who said that?" "Please, I know some people wouldn't be able to see me, but this is ridiculous. Look over here," the individual said. Naruto sought out the formless mass of shadow in the direction the voice was coming from. "You can talk?" "Of course I can talk, all summons can." "Well, most. Some can only speak in their own tongue rather than the human language, which is unhelpful a lot of the time. Anyway, I suppose you are the new head summoner, congratulations." Thanks. Do you have a name?" Before he and his companions vanished as if they had never been there, Kurajigoku said, "Of course, it would be degrading otherwise. My name is Kurajigoku. The small gray one is Kyobo.na. Hito, the red-eyed shadow being is Akame, and the insect is Kuriru. If there is no further need for our presence, we shall be taking our leave. Farewell, summoner. Sama." Naruto glared at Jiraiya and remarked, "Well, I guess that's that. Now I have to try and find my way home without getting chased because someone let out my secret. I said I was sorry." After 2 weeks, Neru sat on a rock and watched as her love interest was hidden from view by a cloud of black that was circling in a circle. After a while, she grew tired of staring at the black cloud and called out to Naruto. The cloud appeared to slow down as she spoke, allowing glimpses of the boy in the black outfit in the middle. "Hey, Naruto, you done showing off yet? I'm getting kinda bored." "I'm not showing off, I'm practicing with Kuriru." I say it's showing off. Gah, troublesome woman. You're turning into Shikamaru." "I know, anyway, what now? I have nothing left to do until the finals." Neru approached Naruto and remarked, "I know a couple of things we could do." "Go cool off already. I'd rather not be raped right now." "Damn it. Hey, Naruto," a voice called out from the training grounds gate. "Haku? What are you doing here? Am I not allowed to come and see you train?" Neru sat back on her rock and said, "Face it, Frosty, you just wanted to see him with his shirt off," as Haku flushed. "Although, who can blame you? Please don't argue again, I'm really not in the mood." What's wrong, Naruto-kun? You need cheering up? Once again, you need to cool off." Neru began, "Why won't you just?" but was interrupted by a loud explosion coming from a different training area. Son of a bitch. Madre de Dios. With thoughts of the explosion's cause and Naruto's peculiar linguistic error, Naruto, Neru, and Haku raced in the direction of the explosion's origin. As they approached, the remaining vegetation completely vanished, and they soon discovered that there were fewer trees surrounding them. They saw a huge plume of smoke rising into the sky as they leapt from the trees to the scarred ground. In an attempt to slow down, Neru and Haku nearly collided with Naruto's back as he abruptly stopped. Looking over his shoulders, they could see a crater extending far into the earth in front of them. Naruto nearly sent the two kunoichi to the ground before vanishing from view and resurfacing on the crater's side as he ran down it, adhering to its burned and scarred surface with chakra. He ran directly into the cloud of smoke, ready to fight whatever was inside, and vanished from sight. But when he noticed two silhouettes in the smoke, one tall and standing straight, the other crouching on the ground, exhausted, he stopped. Naruto grinned when the dense smoke finally lifted and the two figures' identities were revealed. "Training hard, I see, Sasuke? What have you been teaching him, Kakashi sensei?" "Oh, this and that," Kakashi remarked, grinning. "You have to prepare him to face that Suna.nin, Gaara." "Do you still expect him to win?" Glaring at the blonde boy, Sasuke said, "You doubt me, Dobi?" "Knowing you, I have every reason to. But no, I simply fear for you." "Fear? You don't understand what Gaara is capable of. He could crush every bone in your body with a second thought. And I think you'll need those bones if you want to revive your clan. Just don't train too hard. You'll only have a week to recover. And by the look of this crater, if something goes wrong you'll need much longer than that. Don't count me out yet, Dobi. I'll beat that desert rat and then I'll be facing you. And I promise, I will show you why the Uchiha were considered the greatest. Perhaps too great, Kakashi thought, recalling a particular user on Mangekyu. Well, keep I down, will ya? Others have to train too, and I can't hear myself think over all this. Whatever. Just get out of here. Naruto bowed and said, very well, I will leave you to spend some quality time with your new hole. The hotel room of Sound Nin. Kabuto knelt before his master and said, you want me to pull out? After changing out of his auto, Junin clothing, Orochimaru remarked, yes, Kabuto, I will need you for the invasion. I can't have you waiting around for your match when you should be preparing. And what of Yoroi and Masumi? They are too weak from their battles in the preliminaries to be of any use. Actually, I can think of one, very special use. The Edo Tensei. Yes, they will make fine sacrifices. The leaf will live for 7 days and 7 nights, then it will burn. And the sound shall rise in its place. After a week. Welcome all, to the final round of the Chunin selection exams. We have an exciting lineup today, ranging from the last Uchiha to the pride of the Hyuga. Would the 9 finalists please gather in the center of the arena in order to begin the matches? A Junin spoke through a megaphone. Genma Shiranui, the new proctor, raised an eyebrow as the 7 genin gathered in the center. He chewed on the senbon that hung from his mouth and said, hey, aren't there supposed to be 9 of you? The Junin previously stated, we have just received word that Kabuto Yakushi of Konoha has withdrawn from the final round. Genma took a piece of paper out of his pocket and said to the genin, it all adds up then. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. Since the Yakushi kid quit, there'll just be 4 final matches, then 2 semi-final matches before the final. If you were to win the tournament, it doesn't mean you'll actually become Chunin. That decision is up to the dignitaries presiding over the matches today. By this method, anyone can become Chunin regardless if they win or lose. They simply have to impress the audience. Any further questions? Yeah, I got one. Where's Hayate? Neji inquired, observing that the coughing ninja was not present. He's incapable of fulfilling his duty in his present state. So I'm taking over. If that's all, let's begin. First match, Uzumaki Estacado Naruto of Konoha versus Hyuga Neji of Konoha. All those who are not participating please exit the arena, Genma said, continuing to chew on his senbon. Neji and Naruto were alone in the arena after the other 6 genin left. While Naruto was staring off into the distance, clearly uninterested in the fight, Neji glared at the blonde Jinchuriki, his pale eyes scrutinizing every inch of his body. Hajime. Neji charged forward, launching a luminous hand that Naruto avoided. The nin with the pale eyes turned and pointed another palm at the back of his head. Neji doubled over as Naruto ducked and punched him in the stomach, then kicked him in the face, sending him flying backwards. Disappointed, Naruto crossed his arms and gazed at his opponent. Is that it? Is that all the great Hyuga clan has to offer? I must say, that reputation is undeserved if this is all you can throw at me. Neji rushed forward once more and yelled, hold your tongue, peasant. You know not of the Hyuga clan's power. Naruto caught him by the wrist as he thrust another palm at him. When Neji looked up at his enemy, he saw hateful, glowing yellow eyes that had no business being on a human. Neji let out a painful cry and heard a sickening crunch as Naruto tightened his hold on his wrist. You think, just because you are from a clan, you are better than me? You're just as bad as the Uchiha. Neji yelled, don't you dare compare me to that scum, before escaping Naruto's hold and spinning around in one spot while a dome of blue chakra formed around him, pushing Naruto back. Oh, so you have a few more tricks up your sleeve. You may just make this interesting yet. Don't underestimate me, Uzumaki. Oh, maybe you hadn't heard. My secret's already out. Most of the people in the village already know, thanks to one white-haired, pervy idiot. In the vicinity of the hot springs, as he was brutally beaten by a number of angry, half-naked women, Jiraiya exclaimed, Achoo! Damn it, why are people talking about me at a time like this? With fake tears streaming down his face. When Neji finally saw how much his opponent resembled the adored Yondaime, his pale eyes widened. Anyway, my true name is Naruto Uzumaki Estacado Namikaze, he announced. A few villagers were taken aback by Naruto's revelation because they had not heard Jiraiya's outburst. But all they did was turn their heads in embarrassment at how poorly they had treated their hero's son. The council members' reactions were very different. They were furious at what Naruto had said and had not heard in their reinforced council chamber. They were simply disregarded, and the match went on. Don't act like you're better than me, Neji, because you are sorely mistaken. I don't need my father's name to be better than you. I need no name, I simply am. And I swear, if you go spouting off some crap about fate and destiny, I'm shoving my foot so far up your ass you'll be picking shoelaces out of your teeth for weeks. Naruto said with a dark grin on his face. To put it mildly, Neji was terrified at that precise moment. He was tripped by a demon arm and flung into the air when he attempted to run at Naruto once more but was unsuccessful. Like Lee's Ohm at Renge, Naruto wrapped his tentacles around him and grabbed his back. Neji followed Naruto as he began to spin. They shot straight for the ground as Naruto yelled the name of his new attack. Kuro Renge. They collided with the earth, leaving the arena floor with a sizable crater. Naruto appeared as a black blur that sped out of the crater and landed on the arena wall. He squinted as he searched for his opponent's body, looking back at the damage from the mimicked attack. Neji, covered in cuts, bruises, and other injuries, ran out of the crater, so he didn't need to look very closely. Naruto ultimately took the full force of Neji's move because he was too shocked by his mobility to block his attack. He yelled, "You are within my field of divination. Hake. Rokujui Ensho." As his palms sped forward, slamming into Naruto with all the swiftness and venom of a snake. Neji called out, 2 strikes, 4 strikes, 8 strikes, 16 strikes, 30, 2 strikes, 64 strikes. As each attack sequence lasted the same length of time. With the final blow, Naruto's body was flung back and struck the wall. Naruto got back up, his wounds not as severe as Neji's, while Neji collapsed to his knees, coughing and panting from exhaustion. "Since we have to finish this and you're not the type to give up so easily, I will give you the honor of losing to my new attack. Now, Kurai Kiki," Naruto said, pointing an outstretched palm at Neji's fallen form, a ball of shadows accumulating within. "You did well, Hyuga. You have earned my respect. The rest of your clan, however, has a long way to go." The ball exploded outwards as Naruto tensed his hand, launching Neji into the wall across from him with a black energy beam. The audience gaped in disbelief at the blonde Genin's display of power. Genma was the only one to speak, resurfacing in the arena's center. He declared, "Winner, Uzumaki Estacado. Namikaze Naruto," while a team of medical professionals removed Neji from the wall. A green and blue blur struck Naruto's chest, knocking him to his feet as he walked back up to the stands after leaving the arena. Neru was seen straddling Naruto's waist as the blur came to a stop. Neru exclaimed, "Well done, Naruto-kun. How about we go celebrate?" before Naruto abruptly pushed her away. Naruto said, "Not now. Seriously, you need to get hosed down or something," and then he kicked himself in his head because he knew she would use it against him. "Oh, you'd love to see me all wet, wouldn't you, Naruto-kun? It's not that I wouldn't, just that I don't have time right now. Why don't you go annoy Haku? Take your mind off sex for a while." "Ah, do I have to? Now?" After saying, "Fine," Neru vanished forever. Naruto thought, "I still don't understand how she does that," and then he got up and brushed the dirt from his clothes. He kept on walking, making his way to the contestant balcony, where he stood beside Shikamaru, who was leaning over it. Smirking, Shikamaru said, "Having fun with your girlfriend over there?" Naruto simply gazed at him with annoyance on his face. "How many times do I have to tell you, she's not my girlfriend? And every time you do she'll deny it and say she is. Either that or say she's your fiancé. Copyright, which do you prefer?" "I'll stick with girlfriend, and well done, you just admitted it. You are now going out with Neru Romano. Good luck, you'll need it." "You know what? I fucking hate you." "Yeah, I know. I'm too smart for my own good. Anyway, have fun with your new girlfriend. I gotta go fight." "Are you actually gonna try?" Shikamaru said, "Don't count on it," and left to go down the stairs to the arena. Tamari, his opponent, was standing in the middle of the arena, grinning cockily and holding a big battle fan on her back with one hand. He approached her with his hands in his pockets and a disinterested look on his face. Genma raised his hand and glanced between the two. Second match, Nara Shikamaru vs Sabaku no Tamari. Hajime. Shikamaru vanished as soon as Genma exited the arena. Tamari scanned the area, looking for a hidden attack. She swung her fan when she caught a glimpse of a ponytail in a bush, tearing the bushes to pieces and leaving only rubble in their wake. She glanced around once more and swung her fan in all directions, catching glimpses of Shikamaru everywhere. When she realized she was immobile, her eyes widened. She had to turn around because of something, and her eyes widened even more. 6 Shikamaru, one colored and the others black with yellow eyes, stood close to the arena wall. "Kageme no Jutsu, success. What's going on? How can there be 6 of you? This is the true Kage Bunshin, clones made completely from shadow. Their shadow jutsus are stronger than mine, hence why I'm making them trap you. So, now what? You can't beat me with those tentacles, there's no shadow out here." Shikamaru smirked and said, That's where you're wrong. You're forgetting my cage Bunshin, as multiple tentacles emerged from the shadow Shikamaru's. But I'm not gonna use that to beat you. That would be troublesome, using up chakra I may need in the rounds to come. Not only that, but it would be rude to so harshly defeat a woman. Sexist. So what are you going to do then? Easy, he said, pointing to his clones. I'm going to make you knock yourself out. They lifted their hands above their heads as though they were going to drop something on them after nodding. Tamari mimicked them, lifting her fan and hands above her head. Tamari mimicked the clones by twisting their wrists as though striking themselves, knocking herself unconscious by striking her head with the fan. After dismissing his clones, Shikamaru said, "Good night, Desert Rose," and left the arena. As Tamari was taken away by medics, Genma reappeared. Shikamaru walked back up to stand beside Naruto on the balcony, gazing out onto the deserted arena, and said, "Winner Nara Shikamaru. Now, we shall have a short break before moving on to the last 2 rounds of the finals." "I didn't have you pegged for a romantic, Shika." "What do you mean?" Shikamaru blushed a little when Naruto remarked, "Hey, heightened senses, they're a gift. I heard what you said to Tamari." "You must have heard wrong. Whatever, after a time." Genma declared from the middle of the arena, "Now that everything is ready, let's continue with the finals. 3rd match, Aburame Shino vs Sabaku no Kankuro." From the stands, Kankuro yelled, "I forfeit the match, move on to the next one." Genma began, but was cut off when Sasuke and Kakashi arrived. "Very well, Shino wins by default. Now, onto the 4th match, Sabaku no Gaara vs." Gazing at the partially destroyed arena floor, Kakashi questioned, "Are we late?" After saying, "No, you're just in time," 4th match, Sabaku no Gaara vs. Uchiha Sasuke. Hajime, Genma and Kakashi vanished. A wall of sand blocked Sasuke's attempts to throw a few kunai at his opponent as he ran forward. Then the sand moved once more, hurling Sasuke into the wall as it fired at him. Just as another pillar of sand smashed into the area he was in, he leapt off the wall. Sasuke leapt forward and attempted to attack Gaara while using his Sharingan. Sasuke ducked and leapt higher into the air as the Suna.Nin blocked him again with a wall of sand and attempted to strike him with a set of sand spikes. Before putting his fingers to his lips and exhaling a ball of fire that turned Gaara's sand to glass, the Avenger ran through hand seals. He was launched into the air when a second pillar of sand struck his chest. Sasuke launched himself off of it and landed at the top of the wall after using his fireball to turn it to glass again. With his left hand clutching his right forearm, he held his right arm in front of him after running through more hand seals. As Sasuke yelled out his new attack, lightning branched out into the air from the palm of his hand. Chidori. With lightning speed, Sasuke sprinted down the wall, his electrified hand scraping the ground and sending rocks and dirt flying. The so-called absolute defense was punctured by his thrusting hand forwards just before he collided with Gaara's sand dome. He felt something warm seeping onto his arm, and a smirk came to his face. He was unable to pull his arm out despite his best efforts. Halfway through the dome, his arm became trapped. He eventually withdrew it and leapt away, his arm splattered with blood. He saw an eye staring back at him through the hole in the dome. It was yellow with 4 black dots and a black 4-pointed star. Sasuke stood motionless as the eye screamed with bloodlust. Because they couldn't see inside the dome, the majority of the audience was wondering what was happening when a shower of white feathers appeared to be falling from the sky. The majority of the villagers reported feeling sleepy upon seeing the white feathers. Everyone except the shinobi, who released it after realizing it was a genjutsu. A huge 3-headed snake materialized outside the village walls and started destroying the village, while Sand and Sound ninjas suddenly appeared to battle the Leaf Ninja. The Konohagakure invasion had started. Sasuke, engage Gaara, led him away from the village. Naruto, help me take care of these ninja here. Sakura, go regroup the other Leaf squads and tell them to report to me. We can't let them take over. Kakashi yelled over the sound of battle. Sakura ran to find the others. Naruto stood there, and Sasuke nodded before speeding away through a hole in the arena wall. Kakashi, may I make a suggestion? This isn't the time, Naruto. I'm just saying, wouldn't it be a better idea if I were to take care of Gaara? I have the best chance of winning against him, plus being a Jinchuriki myself, I know what he's going through. Just give the order, and I'll have this village saved. Kakashi shouted, whatever, just go, while Naruto smiled and disappeared. Deep in the forest, he reappeared on a tree branch to watch Sasuke and Gaara engage in combat. His smile turned to a frown when he realized how insignificant the Uchiha's attacks were in comparison to Gaara's fierceness. When he turned to look behind him, he saw his sister hiding in a corner from Gaara's awful power, and Shino facing Kankuro, the puppet user. Seeing that she was trembling with terror, he leapt to her. Naruto put a hand on her shoulder and she jumped, then looked up into his dark blue eyes. "You should get out of here. Wouldn't want you getting hurt when I defeat your brother." "Why? You can't possibly hope to defeat him. He has the power of a demon." "He does he? That just makes it more interesting." "Are you suicidal? He's gonna rip you to shreds?" With a red aura growing around his body, Naruto remarked, "Yeah, he probably would. If he could. You see, he's not the only one with the power of a demon." Temari's eyes grew wide as he leapt for Gaara, causing the branch she was perched on to split. The next thing she saw was someone punching a hole in the sand armor that Gaara had made for himself. It was joined by another hole, and soon there were fist-sized punctures all over the armor. The holes eventually ceased to appear, and Naruto reappeared above Gaara on a branch, flashing his long canines with a dark smile. Gaara growled in rage at Naruto's arrogant behavior as he looked up at him with a deadly gleam in his eye. "What's the matter, Sandman? Tanuki got your tongue." "Uzumaki. You're the one Mother screams for. Not that don't like being in demand, I just don't feel like being tied down. Now, why don't we just end this? I understand what you're going through. You know nothing of my pain, just lie down and die." "I know nothing. You have me all wrong. Let me guess, your entire village fears you, despises you, hates you for something you can't control. They lash out with numerous attempts on your life. There are some who would turn you into a weapon, am I right?" As he gripped his head in agony, Gaara roared, "What? This changes nothing. You still don't know what it's like. Give me your blood." He sent out columns of sand. "It appears that I am unable to penetrate his sand. Clogged head, tch. It's time for action," exclaimed Naruto, his eyes turning yellow as he let loose the darkness. "So, I guess peaceful negotiations are over." But instead of attacking, he slammed his hand down on the branch and ran through hand seals, causing a cloud of smoke to rise into the air. Numerous gray creatures with bats, crowbars, knives, and anything else they could find sprang from the cloud and charged at the genin that was possessed by the Tanuki. Kyobo.na. Hito, attack! The gray creatures yelled as they leapt upon Gaara, tearing at the bare skin. A few seconds later, the berserkers were flung into trees, and a savage roar and multiple poofs reverberated throughout the forest. Then there was quiet. Then there was a gloomy laugh, then wild laughter, a roar, and a few crashes. The now dominant Shukaku roared, "I'm finally free," as the sand from Gaara's half transformation filled his enormous form. "Oh, fuckberries." The Hokage box's top Sarutobi narrowed his brown eyes and glared at the man in front of him, taking in his yellow eyes and pale skin. With a sickly smile on his less than healthy face, Orochimaru asked, "Won't it be humiliating to be defeated by the one who once called you sensei? I should have killed you when I had the chance." Orochimaru rushed through hand seals before slamming both hands onto the ground. "Now you won't get the chance at all. Since I'm fighting my sensei, I thought you might like to fight yours." "The Shodem and Naidame Hokages," he said. "Kachiyose. Edo Tensai." Two coffins with the kanji for first and second on the front of them started to rise from the ground. A third coffin started to rise, but Sarutobi's fireballs swiftly put an end to it. The fronts of the coffins exploded open, revealing Senju Hashirama, the Shodem, and his younger brother Tobirama, the Naidame. "Phew, if I had had to fight all three, I would have been done for." "You demon. They look exactly as I remember. But you're wrong, these aren't my teachers. No matter how much they may look like them, they're simply your puppets." With a smile on his face, Orochimaru asked, "Is that what you'll tell yourself as you fight them?" Before pointing to the Hokages, halfway between Orochimaru and his former sensei, they halted their sprint. Before a column of water rose around Tobirama as he ran through hand seals, multiple jets of water erupted from it and flew in Sarutobi's direction. A wall of rock rose from the earth with the Sandame on top, shielding him from the water. Based jutsu as he slammed his hands into the ground. With branches and roots bursting from the building's tiled roof and the steep side of the Doryuheki, Hashirama paused this time to apply his own hand seals as the revived Hokages charged forward once more. Sarutobi ran down the branches and jumped out into the newly created forest, while Tobirama started to run up them. After landing on a thin branch, he called out Enma, the Monkey King, using his summoning jutsu. The summoner and the summoned exchanged glances while simultaneously engaging in a full-fledged conversation without speaking. After giving a nod, The Monkey King vanished into a cloud of smoke, leaving behind a big bow staff, which Sarutobi seized and assumed a fighting stance. His eyes grew wide as he witnessed a snake emerge from Orochimaru's throat, carrying the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, which Sannin then grabbed. The Kusanagi blocked the old Hokage's attempt to strike Orochimaru in the stomach with the end of his staff as he leapt forward. He halted his leap and whirled the staff above his head. The snake summoner's sword deflected most of the blows, but a few managed to get past his defenses and hit him in the face, sending him reeling back. Orochimaru gazed up into his elderly sensei's hate-filled, slitted yellow eyes. "Why do you continue to resist? Trying to change the outcome of this battle is futile, old man. Just fall down and die." Sarutobi shouted, leaping back at his former pupil. "No. I will not fail this village. I won't stop until I've at least done some damage to you, you bastard, one last time. In the remnants of the woodland. How the fuck do I fight something that big? Have you forgotten already? Kyuubi, what are you talking about? Idiot, you just signed the contract, how could you have forgotten? What? Oh, right, every contract includes a boss summons. Next, let's find out who is in charge of the darkness contract." With a thought, Naruto slammed his hand down again. Kachiyose no Jutsu, his form, as well as the forms of everyone else, was obscured by a thick cloud of smoke that was as large as Shukaku. As they waited to see what would emerge from the cloud, everyone held their breath. An enormous Zanbato pierced the smoke, ending their waiting. Its handle was made up of a number of large, curved blades that ran down the side, with what appeared to be black roots in the middle. One of the most horrifying sights the genin had ever seen was revealed as the blade turned and cut sideways through the smoke, dissipating it. It appeared to be a massive, black ghost that appeared to just emerge from the earth without any legs. The rest of its black body absorbed all the light around it, leaving only shadow, while its purple eyes gleamed out of its dark blue head. Its two purple, rune-like wings hovered menacingly behind its sword, and its large claws tightened around the handle. Perched on the creature's shoulder, Naruto gazed out over the battlefield. "You must be Uzumaki Estacado Naruto, the new summoner. Greetings, I am the boss summoned for the darkness contract, Entropius. For what purpose have you summoned me? I have summoned you to aid me in protecting Konohagakure no Sato and its inhabitants. Will you lend your sword?" "I will, but know this. In 3 years' time, my reapers will come for you, to take your soul to the otherworld for eternity. If you defeat them, not only will you live, you will gain immense power, and I and my subordinates will bow to you, as will all those who carry darkness within them. That is the only condition for summoning me. I will take and uphold my end of the bargain. Now, let's rock." "Yes." Entropius swung his enormous sword as he flew in the direction of the one-tailed sand demon. In an attempt to defend himself, the sand demon raised his blue-veined arm, but it was unsuccessful. The sandy appendage fell to the forest below as the curved blade cut straight through it. Upon swinging once more, Entropius discovered that the arm had reshaped itself from the remaining sand and was still thwarting his blows. A black hole stopped Shukaku's right arm swing at Entropius's head while the left arm blocked. The black hole then absorbed the arm until Shukaku was able to pull it away, leaving only a sandy stump. Though not quickly enough, the arm reformed. Shukaku's side had a large empty space that swiftly reformed like the rest of his body after Entropius thrust his blade through his stomach and cut to the right. Entropius floated backwards, away from Shukaku, his glowing eyes narrowing. There must be a way to stop him from reforming. Naruto, can you tell me a little more about the enemy? I'll try. It's Shukaku, the one-tailed Biju, its Jinchuriki is Gaara no Sabaku. Jinchuriki. Then Shukaku must have taken control somehow. Can you think of any distinguishing features that might give away how Shukaku is controlling him? Well, only that Gaara had huge bags under his eyes, it looked like he was wearing makeup. An insomniac, eh? Then that must be the Jinchuriki on top of Shukaku's head, asleep. If we wake him up, Shukaku's control should end. Naruto shouted, "Get us in close and try to keep Shukaku occupied, I'll take care of Gaara." Entropius nodded and flew back toward Shukaku. The summon held the sand demon in place by piercing his chest with the odd blade rather than attempting to cut him. On his way to Gaara's resting place, Naruto dodged numerous spikes, sand bullets, and wind blasts as he ran down Entropius's arm and onto Shukaku's shoulder. Tentacles that grew from the top of Shukaku's head served as his last line of defense, snagging Naruto by the wrists and ankles and preventing him from waking Gaara. This didn't work, though, as Naruto cut him free with two demon arms, turning the tentacles into mere sand grains. Naruto turned to Gaara's unconscious form and kicked him a quare in the forehead, not too hard but enough to wake him up, smirking at the pitiful attempt the demon had made to stop him. With a loud rumbling and crashing sound emanating from all around him, Gaara's eyes widened and his head flew backwards. The demon's body was disintegrating into the sand it was made of, the Ichibi's control gone. Gaara and Naruto both collapsed to the ground, separated by only a few feet. Naruto got to his feet and approached Gaara, offering to help him up. Gaara just gave him a wide-eyed stare. Staring at Naruto and the enormous cloud behind him as Entropius vanished, Gaara exclaimed, How could I have lost? What makes you so strong? I'm not sure I can answer that question. It's kind of a toughie. Anyway, on an irrelevant note, you seem kinda strong and cool. Wanna be friends? Friends? Yeah, friends. You know, the opposite of enemies. Sure, something wrong. You don't hate me? I destroyed half your village? So, if you hadn't I would've. Plus, you hurt the Uchiha. Anyone who does that is okay in my books. Sarutobi is back. Simply put, Hiruzen Sarutobi was screwed. He was clutching his former pupil's shoulders as he stood in front of him. Furthermore, the student's sword was impaled through his chest at the moment. Behind him, Enma was attempting to prevent the sword from entering any deeper. In addition, the Shinigami was halfway through extracting Orochimaru's soul while hovering behind him with his hand in his chest. The death god would take Sarutobi's soul in return for taking said soul. By all measures, this is not a good situation. Sarutobi yelled, Gimme your soul, as a flash of madness cracked through his present desperation. Orochimaru yelled back, No, as he attempted to break free of Sarutobi's hold. I said gimme, yelled Sarutobi once more. After watching this argument with unrestrained enthusiasm, unimaginable boredom, the Shinigami grew tired of it all and raised the bandaged dagger above his head. In order to preserve as much of the soul intact as possible, the death god swung his dagger and severed the soul as near Orochimaru as he could. Orochimaru screamed in agony, his arms going limp at his sides. After removing his arm, Shinigami vanished from the plane of existence, carrying Sarutobi's soul with him. His student continued to scream in pain as the former Hokage collapsed to his knees as the life left him. He shouted to the 4 ninja defending the purple barrier surrounding the battlefield, Release the barrier, take me back, a big orange. Haired Nin lifted Orochimaru's injured body and fled the village with the others as the barrier collapsed. The Sound Ninja were either defeated, captured, or escaped. With fewer prisoners, the Suna Nin's outcome was essentially the same. At what cost had Konoha defeated its invading enemies and dealt a crushing blow to the treacherous Habi-Sanin? A nameless Junin began, We are gathered here to pay our last respects to the Sandaime Hokage and Professor, Sarutobi Hiruzen. However, one blonde in the crowd attending the Sandaime's funeral was unimpressed. He just gazed at the ground, as though it were something of great interest. If he had any tears left, he most likely would have been crying. The only sign that he had any is the water puddles that are still accumulating in his room. Standing next to him, Neru took in his expressionless face and, in a futile effort to get him to do something, clasped his hand and interlaced her fingers with his. Naruto simply stood there and gazed at a single blade of grass that was sticking out of the ground. The funeral came to an end before either of the 2 genin realized, and all of the ninja who had gathered left to carry out different tasks throughout the village. It seemed as though Neru was anchored to the ground when he attempted to move the Jinchuriki. It wasn't until he was right behind them that they both saw Kakashi emerge in a cloud of smoke. Hey, lovebirds. We have a mission, let's get going, Kakashi remarked while glancing at Naruto's frozen body. Kakashi raised an eyebrow as Naruto muttered, What's the point? What do you mean? A certain pervert hiding in a tree raised an eyebrow in response to Naruto's statement, What's the point of being a ninja? Peace can never be attained. People will still die. Humans will still carry hate and envy in their hearts. Darkness will still have control over us, and the existence of ninja isn't helping. Peace is even more unattainable when ninjas exist. Nagato. Well, that doesn't matter now, Naruto. Unless you want to go and resign your ninja career, you have no choice in the matter. Not even Neru could hear Naruto whispering under his breath, Maybe I should. With a sigh, he looked at Kakashi. What's the mission? A bandit camp has been abducting women from a nearby town. Our job is to infiltrate the camp and set the stage for a squad of Chunin and Junin to destroy the camp. We're not allowed to take out the camp ourselves? Oh, we're allowed, but it'd be best to wait for backup. Cancel the backup. I want to have some fun, after a couple of hours, bandit camp. We're here. Sensei? Sakura inquired. Observing Kakashi's intense scowl, she turned to face Naruto, who was visibly trembling with uncontrollable anger. "Sakura, get away from there. Now. I suggest we do hold on that backup and just send in Naruto. It might be safer." Before vanishing, Naruto muttered, "Finally." He reappeared in the middle of the camp, approaching a group of bandits at a leisurely pace. One of the bandits approached him and said, "Hey, kid. You look lost. Looking for something?" But he turned away when he noticed his bright yellow eyes. Around Naruto's angry body, a cloud of Kuriru materialized. With a flex of his fingers, he raised a hand and sent several demon arms hurtling toward the crowd more quickly than most could run. Two bandits were trapped on the spike and impaled by the flying appendages. Another tentacle sliced a couple more in half. With their weapons ready, two bandits charged at Naruto. He merely seized their weapons, causing dark crimson fluid to flow down them as the blades sliced into his palm. Twisting his wrists, Naruto yanked the bandits' swords from their grasp, causing them to fall to the ground, where the darkness wielder used their own swords to nail them to the ground. He kept moving forward, tearing people to pieces everywhere he went. It is likely that the sight of this camp would make anyone sick. The walls were covered in splatters of blood, intestines, organs, brain fluid, and other gray matter. They'd watch as a 14-year-old boy tore the hearts out of frightened bandits, splattering the warm blood onto his pale skin before dropping them to the ground. Mutilated corpses scattered across the ground, with no flies around their bodies, their internal organs visible to everyone, and their blood pooling in tiny holes in the ground. After waiting for Naruto to return, Kakashi eventually had enough and brought Sasuke, Sakura, and Neru into the bandit camp. They were appalled by what they saw as they passed through the enormous wooden gate. The place had been remodeled by Naruto. The bodies of the deceased had been dumped into a sizable ditch on one side, creating a red river. Heads were impaled on spikes lining the walls, and windows were broken. A headless body fell behind Naruto as he power slid across the ground, holding his sword like a guitar, after the four ninja heard a loud slicing sound. Decapitation. Naruto, what happened here? I did, of course. All of the bandits are dead. The women are in that building, he said, gesturing to a building that didn't seem to belong because it wasn't damaged. Kakashi nodded and turned to go, saying, "You go ahead back to the village. I'm gonna finish cleaning up." Sakura and Sasuke trailed behind him, but Neru remained, staring into Naruto's almost black eyes. Naruto.kun. Shikamaru told me something. Oh no, did he now? Yeah, he said you actually did want to go out with me. Yeah, about that. Good luck, kid. Wah. Darkness? Where on earth were you? Sleeping. All right. Neru squealed with excitement, so do you want to go out with me? Naruto simply hung his head in resignation. Being the gentleman that he is, Naruto didn't want to take away her happiness when he looked up at her and saw that she was truly happy about it. He just gazed into her own dark eyes and sighed. Before his new girlfriend knocked him off his feet, he said, "Okay, I'll go out with you." After a week, Naruto, Uzumaki Namikaze Estacado, was annoyed. Not in the same way that you get annoyed when you stub your toe or when your sibling annoys you. No, this is the sort of annoyance you get when your new girlfriend spreads the word to everyone in the village. After that, they use their incredible strength to drag you around the village by your wrist so they can do whatever they want. He was sitting on a bench outside a row of ninja shops at the time, and Neru was racing between them, grabbing weapons, supplies, ninja gear, and other things that most Konoha and Kunoichi would probably not purchase. With the possible exception of Tenten. He could practically feel the Ryu vanishing from his pocket wallet. When the blur that comprised Neru's speeding form finally stopped moving, Naruto was buried beneath a pile of various types of boxes, bags, and containers. His voice was muffled as he said, "Get thif FTUFF off of me," from beneath the pile. Neru wrapped her arms around Naruto's disembodied waist and simply leapt into the pile. Neru threw a couple of boxes aside and rolled her eyes, exposing Naruto's even more agitated face. "I mean it. Help me out of here," she exclaimed. "Do you really need this much stuff?" "Nope. Then why did you buy it? You don't know how girls work, do you?" Before turning around and launching a pestilence shot into a nearby tree, Naruto remarked, "Not a clue." He heard a pained shout and a great mass of white falling from a branch that hung over the hot springs, and an evil smirk spread across his face. He heard multiple screams and the sound of a severe beating, so he climbed out of the shopping pile and leapt to the fence that surrounded the hot springs. Naruto noticed that the old man he had trained with for the entire month was surrounded by a number of women wearing towels as he watched the altercation. He smiled at the numerous wounds the old sage was wearing as a result of his perversity. He approached the white ball of hair on the ground and kicked it, causing a moan. "Hey, Arrow. Sennin. Get up, you old pervert." "Wah. Naruto. Just the person I was looking for. We have a mission." "Right now?" "Yes, right now." "Perfect. So what are we doing?" "We have to find my old team mate, Tsunade, so she can be the Godem Hokage." A cloud of smoke vanished as Naruto said, "'Kay then, let me get my stuff ready and I'll meet you at the gate." Jiraiya got to his feet and began to limp toward the village gate. After a short while, "You ready to go?" Jiraiya inquired as he noticed his blonde pupil coming toward the gate. "Yeah, I'm ready. So, I know where we're going, but in return for my services I require payment. I'll train you in the ways of your father's jutsu, the Rasengan." As quickly as he could, Naruto walked through the gate and said, "Deal. Let's move." But from behind him a voice, sickeningly sweet, stopped him. "Oh Naruto-kun. You wouldn't be about to leave without saying goodbye to me, would you?" Sweating profusely, Naruto turned around and said, "Oh, of course not, Naru-chan." When he turned back to face the village, he noticed his girlfriend grinning evilly at him. Naru just stood there with her hands on her hips while he moved forward. He stood before her, still perspiring and scratching the back of his head. He shut his eyes, anticipating an excruciatingly painful torment. As you can imagine, he was perplexed at the time when he felt a gentle touch on his lips. Naru was standing there with her lips on his when he opened his eyes, wondering if she was putting a snake in his mouth or something. Unsure of what to do, he simply stood there, frozen. Naru eventually withdrew and smiled at him. As she ran back into the village, she exclaimed, "Have a nice trip, Naruto-kun." Jiraiya stood a few feet away, grinning, while Naruto simply stood motionless for a few seconds before turning around and leaving the village. So, even after being kissed, the child freezes up. "Oh, that will need to be changed. I'll use my perverted image as a model for this child." Jiraiya devised a plan to pervert, if that's a word, his blonde student while the two nin were out and about. The plan included a number of hot springs, clothing stores, and, of course, gentlemen's establishments. Jiraiya started crying, and Naruto twitched his eye and said, "Arrow. Sennin, if you're trying to pervert me, it won't work, so stop now." "So, where are we headed?" "First, we go to a small settlement near here. I have an informant who may have knowledge of Tsunade's whereabouts." "It's strange." With a drop of sweat forming on his forehead, Naruto concluded, "How you go from pervy and weird all serious in half a second. This is just one of the many things I will teach you, my young Padawan." Wrong show. After a couple of hours, gazing around the town, Jiraiya cried out, "We're here. We would have made it here a lot quicker if you hadn't felt the need to stop at every hot spring resort along the way. There is a limit to how pervy a man can be without seeming creepy and desperate. Whatever. Why don't you go get us a hotel room, while I try to find our informant?" "Would our informant be a woman, perhaps? What would give you that idea?" As he made his way to the closest hotel, Naruto remarked, "Oh, just a wild guess." He went into the hotel and faced the owner who was sleeping. Nothing happened when he rang the little bell on the desk. Naruto was starting to grow irritated after a few more rings. Naruto smiled and leaned down to place his mouth close to the sleeping man's ear. He yelled, "Hey asshole! Wake up!" and the elderly man leapt straight into the air before landing back in his chair. As if nothing had happened, he asked, "Yes sir, how can I help you?" "I'd like a room, please." Reaching behind the desk for a small silver key, the man said, "Very well, you'll be in room 218. You can pay when you leave. Have a pleasant stay." Naruto said, "I'm sure I will," and turned to leave. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the man putting his head back on the desk and going back to sleep as he made his way to the stairs. A short while later, Naruto was in his hotel room, crossing his fingers in his trademark hand seal. Lazy bastard. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 10 clones were standing in front of the original after a cloud of smoke swiftly cleared from the room. Each clone grabbed a leaf from an overhanging branch outside the window as Naruto said, "Okay, Mies. While Arrow. Sennin is gone, we're gonna be training. Chakra control exercises, the lot of you. Grab a leaf and get levitating." When one of the clones spotted something odd outside, they summoned the original to investigate. 2 weirdos in black cloaks with red clouds on them. One's really tall with blue skin and a massive sword, the other's average and looks a little like. "Oh, fuck me sideways. What the devil? Uchiha Itachi, right here. Nothing good, nothing good. Either Sasuke will appear or the town will be destroyed. Furthermore, I am unsure of which is worse. Arrow. Sennin must be found immediately. Naruto thought, but a knock on his door cut him off from his panicked state of mind. He approached it, peered through the tiny opening, and saw the two missing Nin's recognizable hats and cloaks adorned with clouds. The blonde-haired shinobi said, "Okay, I know ninja are supposed to be fast, but this is ridiculous." She reached slowly for the doorknob while simultaneously grabbing the gun that was resting on a table next to the door. He opened the door with a single, fluid motion, aimed, and blasted the traitorous Uchiha in the face with a pestilence blast. The explosion left a tiny crater in the wall behind the noob.nin, who somehow saw the shot coming and moved back and out of the way. Naruto saw how composed Itachi appeared as he repositioned himself at the doorframe, seemingly unfazed by anything that had happened. Squeezing the trigger in a menacing manner, Naruto shifted the gun's barrel back into the former Konoha-nin's face. "Good to see you, Naruto-kun. I'd say the same, Itachi. Nissan, but I'm afraid I don't like lying. Why such hatred? I thought you'd be glad to see me, kid." "I would have been, had you not gone rogue and left me alone again." "I'm sorry, kid. But I did what I had to do. Now, we need you to come with us." Naruto retrieved a kunai from his hip pouch and asked, "And what makes you think I'll listen?" "If I were you, Naruto-kun, I wouldn't try to attack me. I taught you everything you know." A strong red aura enveloped the young Jinchuriki as he closed his eyes and uttered, "Not everything." The two missing nin were essentially unaffected by this. The big blue one merely grinned and reached back for his bandaged sword, which he then swung at Naruto. The earth shaking that had accompanied the red aura seemed to stop, and the aura itself seemed to vanish. Naruto squinted, then shut his eyes once more, but this time there was a yellow aura instead of a red one. With another smile, the big shinobi swung his sword at the genin, but this time nothing happened. As it pressed down on Itachi and his companion, the yellow aura grew stronger and engulfed Naruto's body. Itachi's eyes had holes in them, and Naruto's eyes were yellow and pupilless. He held up a hand, shadows accumulating in his palm just as they had during the fight with Neji. With a sly smile, Naruto's lips moved to display sharpened canines that resembled those of a dog or other canine. Instead of firing itself as a beam, his hand tensed, causing the ball of shadows to explode. The three shinobi were flung backwards, with Naruto being flung straight through the wall on the other side of his hotel room while the other two noob.nin managed to maintain their balance. Returning to the doorway, Itachi peered into the hotel room. A blur of black and yellow shot through the wall hole and straight into Itachi, widening his eyes. For a moment, it ceased to move, exposing Naruto with his fist buried deep in Itachi's abdomen. Naruto exclaimed, "Guess what, motherfucker?" Falcon Punch, as an explosion broke out at the impact site, revealing an Itachi-shaped hole in the hallway wall. As the other shinobi withdrew the sword from Naruto's back, he fell to his hands and knees, gasping for air. Ah yes, the fight the enemy one at a time rule. At the gate, back in Leaf Village, as they performed their constant gate duty, Azumo asked his friend and teammate Katetsu, "Did you hear?" "No, what?" "They say Uchiha Itachi has been spotted near here. He's been asking for a blonde kid with whiskers." "You mean Naruto? Man, that kid cleaned me out when we played poker once." "You idiot. Anyway, is anyone doing anything about Itachi?" As the aforementioned Avenger entered the gate, covered in cuts, scrapes, and dirt from another of Kakashi's training sessions, Azumo informed him, "Not until he comes near the village. No, it's become a big time secret, though, and it's especially secret when it comes to Sasuke." His eyes widened as his mind raced with ideas as he heard what the Chunin had been discussing. Is Itachi present? Is he also pursuing Naruto? Why not me? I'm going to find him, damn it. He thought, I need to settle the score once and for all, and hurried back out of the gate, oblivious to the Chunin in spandex who was observing him. Sasuke has pursued Itachi, isn't that right? And intentions to face and defeat him? His youth is blazing brightly. Before vanishing into the foliage, the concealed shinobi pondered, but just to be sure. Stalker of youth no jutsu. Naruto is back. Once more on his hands and knees, Naruto had his sword on the ground in front of him as his fish-like opponent smirked and stood in front of him, his sword partially unwrapped, exposing blue scales that resembled razors on the blade's surface. "Came on, Arrow. Sennin, hurry up and stop being a pervert." Naruto thought, avoiding another swing by rolling to the side. Damn. Need to find a way to get out of here. Plus, I think Itachi will be up soon, which makes my chances of escape even slimmer. However, his ears were treated to the sound of birds instead of the notorious opening theme of the great and powerful Gamma, Sennin Jiraiya. He peered through the doorway and noticed that a blue light was coming from a doorway at the end of the hall, illuminating the entire corridor. Then he heard a loud crack and saw Itachi emerge in the center of the hallway, grabbing a hand covered in lightning. While forced to look into Itachi's malformed Sharingan, he witnessed Sasuke being flung against a wall and held there by a hand at his throat. The blue sword in Naruto's stomach prevented him from pushing past the blue shinobi to assist Sasuke. Don't tell me this is all the power your hatred for me has granted? Keep going like this, Sasuke, and you'll never avenge the clan. Shut up. Come on, Otuto. If this is all the power you possess, no wonder you charged me like that. Even if you had the power, you wouldn't have the skill to use it. I said shut up. With one part of his Mangekyo Sharingan activated, Itachi said, very well. Just 4 more words. Look into my eyes, Tsukuyomi. Before he passed out, Sasuke could only utter, wah. Itachi released Sasuke, and Naruto watched as his older brother turned back to his target and Sasuke fell to the ground. The fishman was struck by Naruto's sword, but his own sword deflected the blow. Using this chance, Naruto launched a blast of pestilence into his opponent's head, sending him crashing through yet another wall. The traitorous Uchiha grabbed him by the collar as he ran past his opponent and tried to pass Itachi and assist Sasuke. Itachi turned toward the exit and said, now, Naruto-kun, you'll be coming with us. However, what they discovered was unexpected. Jiraiya's opening theme was the notorious plucking sound. With a smile on his face, the Gamma Sennin himself was carrying an unconscious woman over his shoulder. Nay, Itachi-san, you wouldn't be trying to steal away my student from me, would you? He was my student first. How childish. Anyway, I'm afraid I can't let you take him. I made a promise. Plus, we're kinda busy. You think I care? Probably not, but even you know that you're not strong enough to defeat one of the Sannin. Itachi said to his partner, I guess so. Kisame, we will take care of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki at a later date. He then hurried to the door. Jiraiya remarked, you don't think I'd let you go, do you? As the walls turned mushy and pink, resembling the interior of an odd creature. Before the two nuke.nin vanished, leaving only the breeze that blew past him on its way to the exit, Jiraiya declared, you cannot escape the stomach of the mountain toad. When he and Naruto heard an explosion coming from the end of the hall, they turned to see the rest of the village visible through a sizable hole in the end of the hall. The hole's edges were encircled by black flames that appeared to be burning on nothing. When Jiraiya saw them, he scowled and proceeded to seal the constantly burning flames into a scroll. A flying green blur shouting, Dynamic ENTRYYYYY, kicked Jiraiya in the head after she said, hey, Naruto. Grab Sasuke and we'll get out of here. Guy. Sensei. What are you doing here, Guy? Striking his nice guy pose, exclaimed, I decided to help because I saw Sasuke, Itachi, the blue man, and this old guy fighting. With a drop of perspiration on his forehead, Naruto said to him, dude, you just kicked one of the Sannin in the head. Wah. Oh, Jiraiya. Sama. I did not know it was you. My youthfulness has been diminished by this unyouthful act. Jiraiya stumbled around, clutching his pounding head, and said, just shut up. I now have a pounding headache. Just take the duck butt kid and leave, now. After a couple of hours, here we are, Gaki, the town of Tanzaku. This is where we'll find Tsunade, y'all. Yep, but first, we have to get some information. Yeah, quick question. When are you actually gonna train me? Oh, yeah, about that. If you don't train me now, I'm off. Fine. Demanding brat. First, we need water balloons. Naruto pulled out a bag of water balloons and said, water balloons, check. You carry water balloons around? You never know? As he vanished in a cloud of smoke, Jiraiya said, right then, let's get out to the forest. His student followed suit. Jiraiya had a balloon in his right hand in the forest. As the water in the balloon shifted and pushed outward in an attempt to shatter it, he remarked, okay then, this is what we're gonna achieve in this lesson. When the balloon finally burst, Jiraiya was sprayed with water. Now, what did you notice? The water was rotating, but not only in one direction. The multiple directions caused the water to move around wildly, destroying the balloon. Jiraiya walked back towards the town and told him, correct. Now, grab a balloon and get to work. Naruto gazed at the balloon as though his eyes alone would cause it to burst. In the balloon, he collected his chakra and spun the water as quickly as he could in all directions. Though he was aware that the balloon was starting to glow yellow, he ignored it and carried on with the chakra flow. He quickly realized how poor his decision was. A huge black mark was left on the forest floor as the balloon literally exploded, sending Naruto through multiple trees and scorching a few more to a crisp. Before he collapsed onto his back and slipped into sweet unconsciousness, Naruto uttered the words, "Cough, cough. I think I, cough, did it. I should go tell Ero. Senin." From somewhere above Naruto, a tiny, high-pitched voice exclaimed, "Wake up. Come on, kid, wake up." When the blond boy opened his eyes, he saw a tiny bat circling his head. "Ah, you're finally awake. Dachu. I was beginning to think you were dead." "What the? A talking bat? Someone must have spiked my sake." You have sake? Never mind. What time is it? You're asking a bat the time? You're the only one here, and you might have a watch hidden in your wing. What's a watch?"
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.